I'm a little rusty on it.
I'll hum it for you.
All right, sweet. How is everyone doing today? Luckily, I actually remembered to plug in the fucking Ethernet cord this time. So, the stream won't die out on us like randomly from time to time, and also won't have dropping frames every other second like a Butterfingers ass basketball player. But anyway, how is everyone doing? I'm gonna tie my hair and then we're gonna do the intro, and then we're gonna look at a quick breaking topic and then get into the real topic, to the scheduled stuff for today. Cool. Fantastic. All right, let me get a sip of this real quick. Delicious. Do that. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you might be watching this. My name is Josh and welcome to my channel, and here we talk news, politics, current events. There's something by my foot that's bugging me. What? Oh, it's a thing. We're just gonna throw that in the pile under there of random stuff. All right, so today, as you might tell, better mood, definitely. It's just, sometimes you just have those moods where you're just like, you're not into it. You clock in. You ever clocked into work and you're just like, nah, just not into it. No, that's how I felt yesterday. But either way, today, much better day. Feeling it a lot more, Mr. Krabs. That being said, okay, so today we're gonna take a look at the Youth Hiring Act in Arkansas. We're gonna look at some CPAC coverage along with. Cat is doing a lot, along with kind of Trump, at a campaign stop, I guess, doing some more shit talking of Ron the meatball or whatever the fuck, and then then we'll roll into some Daily Wire stuff, and as part of that, we're also going to look at. We're gonna kind of look into an article about you might have seen it trending on Twitter. This got put on my radar by my girlfriend. But who is Eden Knight? We're gonna kind of learn a little bit together. Gaines, can I call in? No, not today, Gaines. Thursday though. Sure, we can do Thursday. But anyway, let's start with the first thing, which is Biden's trying to pass some gun reform, or I believe he's signing an executive order. Let's go. I did. Let's go take a look at that. I'm gonna tell you right now, Gaines, I wasn't super thrilled with it. I thought there were a lot of really like empty, what's the word? Like empty opposition to the points that were being made. I didn't think it was as substantive as I would have liked. It's, you can disagree with contrapoints all you want, but I found it to be lacking. I was left wanting a little bit after watching that, but I did watch it. Anyway, let's go. Biden, guns. People always seem to be up in arms about guns. Let's go take a look.
Short time ago that President Biden will sign an executive order later today.
Hi, you're quiet. Oh, I know why. 1 second. My volume's all the way up. Oh, that's weird. Okay, that's just a really not very loud news.
Will increase the number of background checks
This'll do.
to buy guns. It also is expected to promote better and more secure firearm storage. This, according to the White House. But what exactly does this all mean? Let's go ahead and welcome into our show Associate Professor of Criminal Justice at the University of New Haven, Mike Lawyer. Mike, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Let's begin by just logistically breaking down what this.
I'll keep that in mind. I didn't know they had spicy nuggets now. Shit, I need to do that.
Good morning, Rain, and thanks. So what the White House is
maybe I'll do that on the way into work tomorrow.
Announcing is that it's not new laws, so to speak. It's doing what many people have urged him to do, which is enforce the existing laws. So, for example, one major initiative is to make sure that individuals who fit the definition of a firearms dealer are complying with the laws that govern firearms dealers. So, for example, pawn shops or auctioneers sometimes skirt the law by not complying with those laws because they don't consider themselves a firearms dealer. firearms dealers have to do background checks when they sell firearms to people under the existing federal law. So enforcing that is an important thing. Another major initiative which he's announcing, and this kind of complements something that was done last year by the Congress in a bipartisan
you ordered the spicy buffalo. Oh,
okay. Encourage education and awareness of red flag laws where they exist. So 19 states have them, but 31 states don't. And but nonetheless,
Christ.
Law enforcement in every state can take steps.
Here's the problem with our gun policy in the United States. Here's the actual problem. The problem is like each state, like the reason why we can't leave, and I've heard Republicans argue this, that gun laws should be left up to the states. Sadly, you know, in a world where like, you know, we lived in states that had like, you know, fucking laser barriers, you know, that like stopped you from transporting this or that over state lines. You know, if we lived in that world, then, you know, maybe I would be more sympathetic to that point. But unfortunately, when it comes to guns, they're not really something that like each state can have their own little rules on. Guns kind of need to be a federally mandated, like have federally mandated regulations. Mainly because taking any firearm across state lines isn't just like, it's like easier than easy. There's absolutely no barrier between you taking your like fucking, you know, P80 Glock that you built like, you know, in your basement out of like a bunch of random disparate parts. Like there's no way for them to know when that crosses into a state where ghost guns like that aren't legal, you know, that you're not allowed to carry those, anything else. It's, you know, it's the same reason why like most of the guns in Chicago don't come from inside of the state of Illinois. They come from the neighboring loose gun restricted states. So that's also why like these need to be more shored up from a federal level so that you don't have like all of this, you know, some states who have like stronger gun regulations and some states that don't, which ends up negatively affecting the states that do have good, strong regulations. But yeah, that's like one of the problems. And simple background checks. There's a lot of really easy, not like extreme things that you can pass to do all of that stuff.
To them that there's an individual who has access to guns who is posing an imminent danger to himself or to others. So it's more enforcing the existing law and encouraging.
So the thing with red flag laws, you also have to keep in mind, red flag laws are not a confiscation, like are not a permanent confiscation. It's simply you know, it's essentially a way for you to what's the word I'm looking for, to like, you know, if you feel somebody is going to do something irresponsible or is going to be dangerous with their firearms, it's the simplest way to not, like, you know, to not take away their right, but certainly put a barrier in between them doing something that might be dangerous. Obviously, there's always going to be arguments about, like, can that system be abused, which I'm sure it can. But as far as at least I've seen, the system of red flag laws don't generally like you know, result in like you know, people using them dubiously, basically. It's just a safety measure. Like, you know, you're gonna get your firearms back, but there is a certain amount of like the same way, like, you know, you can get like your license suspended. You know, and that does cut down on your freedom to travel, but like, again, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, for safety, we kind of need to have something when like family members, when close friends identify, you know, somebody in their circle that could be of danger. Like, you know, even, you know, I understand like the red flag laws, people aren't crazy about them, but civil forfeiture is also like, you don't get your shit back for that.
Agencies and public health professionals and ordinary citizens around the country to use the laws that are on the books.
So let's dive a little bit deeper when it comes to those red flag laws, because we know that that bit of legislation, which are in 19 states, as you mentioned, it also helps to close loopholes. So in Texas, for example, just a few weeks ago, the Texas Senate passed a bill that would close a loophole in the state that allowed for gun sales to people who were involuntarily hospitalized for mental illness between the ages of...
Okay, I had to look it up. You are right. You actually don't get it back for civil asset forfeiture, but that's also like the cops have the ability to like sell your shit basically. And also it's like they can do that even if your property involved in an alleged crime, they can still do that. There's like, it's basically like, oh, if we find like something, we can confiscate it and then like sell it or do whatever the fuck we want with it. I think that's like way like I don't think we should have civil asset forfeiture for almost anything. There's almost like I would have to be convinced that that's like a valuable system in terms of like our policing. But red flag laws I have no problem with. They're temporary. They reverse after a window, and I'm the length of that window certainly I think is like on a case to case basis. So like some people it's like, all right, we got to confiscate this because we've gotten reports. If you'd like to explain it, if you'd like to come down, then you can go talk to the police, you can go talk to whoever. But like it's mostly just like it's the least thing we can do that creates the least amount of harm, but could conceivably stop like needless deaths.
16 and 18. Now, this was the first bill
What is this?
passed.
What do you want? No, I don't want you to know my location, Google. God damn.
So, could you explain a little bit more how President Biden's announcement will address the issue of loopholes and those red flag laws, especially on a national level?
Yeah, but okay, so again, this is also one of those things where I know that people get really, really up in arms about like, oh, but it's my Second Amendment right. You're the simple fact is you have a First Amendment right to speech, but we do have restrictions and we do have barriers to when you've kind of relinquished that that right to speech. Not like fully for the rest of your life, but temporarily. There are situations where simply put, like as a society, we've decided, hey, like you can't do this with your speech, you can't do that with your speech, you can't do X, Y, and Z. And it's kind of like the way I see red flag laws is like, if there is like a person who is they own firearms or that they have access to firearms and they're like they're posting on like 4chan or like they're posting somewhere on the internet, or even if they're telling you directly that they want to do people harm, but when you ask them they're like, oh no, I'm just kidding. But that's like sussy as fuck. So like, what do you need to do? What do you do in that situation? Do you just let that person continue to have access to those firearms and hope that they're just memeing? I especially like, again, with like how many of these shooters end up like doing like their manifestos online, and how many of them get radicalized online. They get radicalized basically like not in real life, so it's hard, so it's like even harder to identify when people are becoming a danger slowly. So like to me, red flag laws aren't, they're fine. I haven't been shown that they create a whole lot of harm. Obviously, they are a infringement on your rights, but we have a lot of rights that are infringed upon. I think this is one that I can justify.
The president cannot unilaterally change the law.
What is this
or
guy?
add to the law.
I don't know who that guy
What
is.
he's doing is encouraging people to follow the existing laws. And so under existing federal law, people who have been involuntarily committed to hospitals for treatment of mental health issues,
I think that makes sense,
are not allowed to have guns. And so there's a number of states that
I wouldn't hand like certain people firearms because they might put themselves in danger, or others.
Abide by these rules. Don't forget, the only way you get committed to a mental health hospital involuntarily is if a court finds that you are an imminent danger to yourself or to others, in addition to being mentally ill. So that makes perfect common sense. And I think it's the awareness of these things that helps separate people who are not responsible, not law-abiding citizens from their guns. And I think, as we see each of these mass shooting tragedies, these active shooter tragedies around the country, you can see in each of these cases there were red flags ahead of time. There were warning signs. And so either people didn't reach out to the police to ask them to do something, or
because like if a family member of yours or a friend of yours is getting really sussy about their language, and that they have firearms or access to firearms, if you go and tell the cops, you're like, hey, they're acting kind of sus. Like, can you go look into this? They can't do anything without red flag laws and the ability to be like, we need to seize these. Like, they can't do anything. They just can go and be like, hey, we got a report that you've been acting kind of sus. Can you explain this? And they go like, oh, no, officer, I don't know what you're talking about. And then like, you're at an increased risk that they might like immediately go out and like harm people because they're like, shit, the cops just showed up. Like, I need to go do the thing that I've been memeing about, that I've been sussy about, like right now. That's like also a thing. Like, you need to like, we need something to kind of put a pause to some of this, because a lot of it is like, you know, how many people do we hear about? How many like shooters, like, how many like mass shooters do we hear about that like were on the FBI's radar, or like, you know, they kind of had an inkling, you know, they got some complaints from neighbors, or, you know, there was some little things that they thought, oh, well, you know, so and so like reported their neighbor because you know, maybe they were like acting kind of sus with their, you know, around them or whatever, and like, you know, but if there's no avenue, if there's no way for them to like basically stop that person before they're going to commit that crime, you know, even if it's just temporarily, then, you know, we don't have anything. Like, this is at least one way to deal with that. I don't think it's perfect, but like,
at least weren't
it's
aware
one way,
of what
certainly.
options they actually had available.
If only we had the Minority Report machine.
This emphasis on using the existing laws is very helpful.
So this bill also includes millions of dollars for mental health, school safety, crisis
okay, I remember this one.
To include juvenile records in the National Instant Criminal Background Check system. So some people believe that gun
this dude stopped like an old guy
to address mass shootings and school safety. Others believe that mental health is a totally separate issue. I'm sure you've heard the phrase "guns don't kill people." People do. So that's often a sentiment that comes from conservatives. Obviously, no one situation is the same, but what opposition do you expect this legislation to have from Republicans or even from President Biden's fellow Democrats?
So, Gaines, the problem is like under this mindset, you can't do anything to curb like gun ownership. Like it becomes a fact that like we can curb speech to some degree, but any infringement on your ability to own a firearm is like untouchable, which is just, I don't think your ability to own a firearm is of the same kind of they are sexy and go pew pew, but they're not the same kind of like, I think people should have more of a stronger like tie to their right to speech than they should a firearm. You know, like we can obviously mention like the way that the Second Amendment was written when we talk about well-regulated militias, but like the jury's out on that one. That's not what we really like if we're going by original text, there's a reason they put like the in a well-regulated militia part in that, and like the understanding of like, well, like I should be able to be allowed to have this weapon to defend myself. The argument from me would be like, you have a right to defend yourself. I do not give you the right to have any possible way of doing that. You know, like, you know, speech and criticism. Yeah, but you will get kicked out of places. You will be refused service if you use your speech in a like non what's the word? Like a non what's the word? Allowable way in public settings.
Legislation. It's an
and again, your gun's not gone. It's you just don't have it for a little bit of time until they can assess if you're a danger. If you're not a danger, you'll get your gun back perfectly fine. Won't be any kind of problem. It's not really an inconvenience. Like I know it feels like one of those things where it's like, well, like, you know, as like a you know as a gun owner, if like the cops were like, hey, somebody said you were being sussy, we needed, I'd be like, that's fine, it's fine. Like, I'm gonna get it back, it's fine. You know, they put it in lockup for like a week, I get it back. It's really like legal gun owners, this isn't really a problem. Like, it's not really a big deal. Most legal gun owners also like usually have multiple guns anyway. So like, you know, maybe they take one, not the other. I don't know what, like, I don't know how they implement this all the time, but even so, like, it's, as a gun owner, as like a gun owner myself, it's not really a big deal. I don't go to the fucking range every week even, and it's not like I have a right to go to the range anyway.
In court somehow, I don't really see the angle that you'd have to do that, but if history's any guide, there will be people who try and derail these initiatives. But there's nothing about the president's orders today that sort of changes or adds to existing law. He's just encouraging the executive branch, the agencies that report to him, to step up their efforts in all of these regards. The other thing that's important to keep in mind, and this is just a fact, and that is persons who have mental.
Again, you get your, so I feel like you're dodging the part where like your gun is not gone. It's returned to you after usually like a week or so. So like, what's the same way your speech is curbed for a brief amount of time, it's the same with your gun ownership.
Mental illness are no more dangerous than people.
It's not gone. It's just
mental illness. Sometimes there is a correlation between serious mental illness and dangerousness, but the mental illness by itself is not the indicator. So that's why I think the president was very careful and not to go out of his way to stigmatize persons with mental illness. For example, I mean, if you can't sleep at night, that technically is a mental illness, but it doesn't mean you're dangerous. And you can get treatment for the sleep disorder, but again, you do have the right to own and possess firearms if you're otherwise a law-abiding citizen. So it's these distinctions that are important to keep in mind.
Your right isn't changed.
Why do you think the president is announcing this now?
Well, I think the president, like many Americans,
am I crazy? Was there? I mean, there's always a shooting in America, but was there like a big one recently?
To establish nationwide laws that are similar to the laws.
Congress passed nationwide laws,
and a number of other states where you can see
the
level of gun violence, the firearm-related deaths, is much lower than you'd see in the parts of the country that are very sort of lax when it comes to regulating firearms. And so this is just another way to help promote the idea of universal background checks and responsible gun ownership nationwide. And it's also important to keep in mind that the biggest category of people who get killed with guns are people who are committing suicide.
That's also a big part of it, actually.
Murder suicides, especially in the domestic for family violence category. So
like the ability for like somebody to be able to like call the cops and like when their family member is having a really like low like week and they know that they just went and bought a firearm or like had some kind of way to find that out and the cops were able to be like to just yoink that off of them. Like I think that's meaningful. I think that's a meaningful and like good use of like red flag laws.
The situation is,
and probably honestly, he is right. That's going to be the majority of. That is going to be the majority of use, most likely. It's not going to be stopping mass shooters.
Shot and killed.
Mass shooters are not like
3-year-old
while they're what's the word? While they're pretty frequent in America, like per capita, like suicide is the most frequent use of death by gun in the U.S.
Trying to promote that.
Any final thoughts?
No, just my fervent hope that every state would adopt laws similar to what we have here in Connecticut, because at the end of the day, responsible gun owners have the right to have guns, but the government has an obligation to separate irresponsible, dangerous people from firearms. And I think that message is being amplified today by the president. And, the fact is, in our country, there are way more guns in circulation than there are responsible gun owners, and narrowing that gap is the goal of public policy.
That's fair. Yeah. It's also a case where like it kind of irritates me to a degree because I feel like a lot of like at least the much more like centrist to center right like politicians tend to always toe this line of like no restrictions, when like if you ask actual gun owners, like no actual gun owners have problems with these. Like these aren't things that gun owners are super like when polled they don't really have a problem with. Being responsible and owning firearms is like a whole thing, but there are people who don't, I think, value that responsibility stuff as much. And like, you know, they kind of see it as like a cultural thing, I think. So that's why they rally around guns in this really weird way that, in my experience, knowing, like, talking with other gun owners and being around other gun owners, most of them are like, yeah, we need like laws, we need restrictions, we need background checks, we need a lot of this stuff, we need more of this stuff. Most gun owners are pretty are honestly pretty consistent on that. But let me read these really quick. Speech isn't temporarily curbed. If there's a lawsuit on defamation because of an article, that article doesn't have to be retracted into this defamation. Right, that's also public. That's also publishing law. Speech can stay up, not retracted until it is found guilty of libel. Then why shouldn't we have the standard that you don't have to give up? Found guilty of illegal activity, that would be the equivalent. Wait a minute. Okay, sorry, I have to read it. So a speech can stay up, not retracted until it is found guilty of libel. Then, well, okay, so this is the problem, Gaines, is we're comparing libel to possibly murder or suicide. These are two very different, like, like libel. While I'm not like, I'm not a fan of like libelous speech, but I'm not really concerned as much with it. The like homicide and suicide are kind of more important in this case, and you might have to, like, it's one of those cases where I feel like it's makes sense to have more strict access to firearms in that case. Anyway, okay, so Arkansas passed laws, apparently, something that our federal government is incapable of doing, mainly because of gridlock and because of the way that the Senate is constructed. But I want to take a look, so the governor, I believe she's the former White House press secretary. She what's the word I'm looking for? She ran and became the governor of Arkansas, and now signed the Youth Hiring Act of 2023. So I've seen some stuff about this. I've seen the big, like, Arkansas just like repealed child labor law stuff, and while that headline might sound nice, I kind of want to hear what the I kind of want to hear, I could stop there, but I kind of want to hear more about it. So let's take a look. I think if you're a consenting adult over at least 21 or 18, you should be able to kill yourself, as horrible as that is and such. So I half agree with you in the sense that, like, if you are a consenting adult and you've like met with your doctors, I don't think it's a what's the word? Like we could absolutely build a system to accommodate that. I think that is something we could build a system for. I believe they're doing so in Canada, actually. There is like leeway for that sort of thing. I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe I heard somebody mention that to me once. But that's not what going out when you're like terminal, like you're super depressed, buying like a Glock for a couple $100 and just offing yourself. Like, I don't want to encourage that system. That's not kind of the way I'd want those people to deal with that, because most people who go that route and end up surviving deeply regret it afterwards, and end up kind of being like, yeah, like it was really knee jerk. It was like, it was like a momentary thing that, given too much access, you're able to make too much of kind of a split second decision on, I think. And allowed it for minors, which is awful. Yeah, I think minors. That's a bit not crazy about that. There certainly is, like, if your kid, if your kid was born with like some debilitating cancer or something, I'm more sympathetic to that. But like, how many teenagers generally have depression because it's hard being a teenager? Like it's tough out there. But anyway, Arkansas, let's go. Let's go. Arkansas law. Let's hit it.
The LEARNS Act is far from the only bill brewing at the Capitol, and it isn't the only thing the governor has signed lately.
Isn't the only thing.
Ashley Godwin shows
oh
us
my
what
God,
else
the
your
fucking
lawmakers have
volume
been
in
working
this.
on. On Monday, Governor Sanders signed the Youth Hiring Act of 2023 into law. This allows those younger than 16 years old to work without having to get an employment certificate. Also headed to her desk, a bill to redefine how a person can have a digital driver's license in Arkansas.
That makes sense.
It would allow a person to download their license through an app from the Office of Driver Services. And the bill that would make a student...
Oh my God, a thing that actually makes sense. I think we I have that for my insurance card.
In a public or charter school use the bathroom assigned to their birth sex.
I'm sorry, go back.
From the Office of Driver Services.
And
the bill that would make a student in a public or charter school use the bathroom assigned to their birth sex was approved by a Senate committee.
Naturally.
It's due for a key vote Thursday.
I love how it's like, all right, we're gonna have, for every one completely reasonable and actually like substantively positive like legislative bill, you know, for the people of Arkansas, we must include two things that will only serve to make a small segment of our society miserable or be put upon. And then the other one will be like, oh yeah, we'll do something for business, we'll allow them to hire kids, and then we'll make it easier for people to hold a driver's license. Oh, and then trans kids have to use the bathroom that they're biologically assigned, because like that makes sense.
Greg Letting asked sponsor Representative Mary Bentley how this legislation would affect
I do not
trans
Gaines
youth.
And if we're really trying to keep students safe, I don't know why we would pass legislation that would put...
I'm pretty sure that's not on my end.
We're looking at all the students, not just
Let me look.
A few. We're looking at every student. Every student can be safe.
And a bill that was introduced this week, a proposal to
eliminate my internet's pumping out.
Time in Arkansas. This would remove the practice of setting clocks.
Can you set the stream to like 720? Because that's what the stream is set to, quality wise. It might be if your computer's trying to up-res it, maybe, and that's why the picture doesn't come through. I'm not 100% sure.
Clocks forward an hour during the spring and summer months for more natural daylight. Counties on state borders could vote to opt out.
Let's see.
Rock, Ashley Godwin, THV 11 News.
The student bathroom bill will be on the Senate floor tomorrow. It is expected to pass and be sent to the governor's desk.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is now providing the clearest education yet.
Hey, we're not on to that yet. I have an article to read. Okay. Also, I am kind of Googling because I'm kind of curious now. What if I put why? Oh no, Reddit's down. Nope, not working, unfortunately. It's weird. Saying audio. Okay, here we go. Audio only mode. Let's listen to the broadcast while your phone is locked or the app is running in the background. Could be... The real question, are you watching on your phone or are you watching on a browser, like on a computer? That might have something to do with it. Again, I don't know. I'm kind of a boomer. That's weird. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry, Gaines. I have like no idea. Like, I'm assuming you're able to watch other people's streams perfectly fine. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. There's nothing on my end that would suggest. Mobile? Maybe? Yeah, so what was the issue last time? I just didn't find the arguments super well thought out. No longer plays audio with screen off. No, that wouldn't be it. Okay, I'm moving on. I was thinking of going over, but it's just a really long fucking video. And I feel like it'll just be me pausing when they pause to pause ContraPoints. But, oh yeah, Arkansas. Let's go. Okay. Arkansas Governor Sanders signs a law that makes it easier to employ children. Let's take a look. Let's zoom in. For my old eyes, let's zoom in. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders signed a law this week rolling back requirements that the state verify the age of workers under 16 and provide them with work certificates permitting them to work. Effectively, the new law signed by the Republican governor applies to those who are 14 and 15 years old because in most cases, Arkansas businesses can't employ those under 14. Under the Youth Hiring Act of 2023, children under 16 don't have to get the Division of Labor's permission to be employed. The state also no longer has to verify the age of those under 16 before they take a job. Okay, so basically, yeah. Okay, so if you're under 16, which basically means they're not going to ask anybody then, for the most part, I would assume. The law doesn't change the hours or kinds of jobs kids can work. The governor believes protecting kids is the most important, but this permit was an arbitrary burden on parents to get permission from the government for their children to get a job. Well, yeah. Okay. Communications director Alexa Hennig said to a statement on NPR, all child labor laws that actually protect children still apply, and we expect businesses to comply just as they are required to do now. Yeah, expecting businesses to, right. I mean, this is like a gift to businesses, let's be honest. Workers under 16 in Arkansas have had to get these permits for decades. Supporters of the new law say it gets rid of the tedious requirements, streamlines the hiring process, and allows parents, rather than the government, to make decisions about their children. So it's a, if your child, if you want to send your kid off to fucking work, then you can do so. And you don't have to, the government, you don't have to worry about being down your back and telling them, no, they need to focus on their education. Yeah, that seems positive for a society. We've really done well with the idea of like kids going from like their elementary, their like 7th or 8th grade class, and then going from a fucking middle school, they get done with their math homework, or they get done with their like history class, they leave school and then immediately go clock into some fucking slaughterhouse. That really makes sense. Lovely, great, lovely. Supporters of the new law say, oh right, but opponents say the work certificates protected vulnerable youth from exploitation. It was wild to listen to adults argue in favor of eliminating a one-page form that helps the Department of Labor ensure young workers aren't being exploited. The group Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families wrote about the law in the legislative session recap. Arkansas isn't the only state looking to make it easier to employ kids in a tight labor market and fill an economic need. Bills in other states, including Iowa and Minnesota, would allow some teenagers to work in meat packing plants and construction, respectively. New Jersey expanded teens' working hours in 2022. But not age. Okay. I do remember. I remember we used to have like at like another job, we would have like 16-year-olds, because I think that's the youngest you could possibly hire in Virginia. And I remember we had like, I think 1 or 2 of them, and it was like they weren't allowed to work, I think, past 10 o'clock. So like they were always scheduled to like 9:30 or something, and then they were like, nope, all right, you guys gotta go. And like there's like, a lot of businesses are like, oh, well, that's like kind of inconvenient. But like the alternative is having them stick around like the theater until like fucking midnight, fucking 1 o'clock. And then what? They have to wake up, they have to wake up and go to school at like 7 a.m. Like this is like, yeah, like it obviously it's better for kids to focus on school and not have like this sort of stuff, not have to worry about like going to work while they're, the work while getting your education. I think that's valuable in like a college setting, but not for like fucking like middle school and high schoolers. I think that's ridiculous. At least if you're like in high school, obviously if you're above a certain age in high school, that's fine. But like, middle schoolers, like it's ridiculous. Not the old story. But either way, on this professor's arguments? Sure. I will after the segment. But the bills are also occurring alongside a rising tide of minors employed in violation of child labor laws, shocking, which have more than tripled since 2015. The federal regulators have promised to crack down on businesses that employ minors in hazardous occupations. There's no excuse for quote why these alarming violations are occurring, with kids being employed where they shouldn't even be in the first place. Jesse Lumen, principal. Like at the end of the day, people who run businesses, like if it's like a construction company or construction site or something like that, like it's rather obvious. Like they're going to hire the cheapest labor they can. Like, and if there's like a kid who's not supposed to be there, they're just going to tell everybody to keep their trap shut about it. and like tell the kid like, hey, if you get injured, don't go to the hospital, we'll take you to somewhere else, we'll make sure you're taken care of, but you can't like we already know that business owners and like business will do this, because at the end of the day they're in the business of making money, and if hiring kids increases their profit margin, they're gonna do it. If skating by the labor laws let them make more money, they're gonna do it. Work for almost anybody. Work for any small business. You'll notice how many corners they cut to save a dime. And that's the same with hiring. It's the same, like, none of them care. As long as they can, in their mind, justify hiring kids, they'll fucking do it. Investigators from the Department of Labor found hundreds of children employed in dangerous jobs in the meatpacking plants. Last month, Packer Sanitation Services paid a $1.5 million fine, the maximum amount for employing 102 children to work in dangerous meatpacking facility jobs. Lovely. So, I mean, what do I have to say about this? Arkansas, led by Sarah Huckabee Sanders, is actively setting the groundwork for children being employed, not just like in places they're not allowed to be, but now trying to finagle a way that would allow for kids to be in some of these places. Because keep in mind, almost like anything else, right? The legal age to hire kids is 16, right? But like, how many times do you hear about kids getting jobs at like 15, getting jobs at 14, starting to work at 13, right? Like, how many times do we always hear these stories of like, oh yeah, like, you know, I started working when I was like super fucking young or whatever. And or like, you know, how many stories we hear about kids who like start doing that and get injured on the job and do all the rest of the stuff, right? As you lower that floor, right? Like you lower that floor to, okay, now you can hire 14 and 15 year olds. Eventually, business is going to come to the realization that like, oh, the ceiling's been, the floor's been lowered. How do I save another extra dollar? I go for the 13-year-old, the 12-year-old. Like at the end of the day, business is going to do what's best for their profit margin, and it's in the interest and it's the responsibility of the state to make sure that it's not exploiting people, exploiting children, exploiting the environment that they operate in. That is the job of the government. The rest of the land outside of that warehouse, that restaurant, that everything else is to make sure that the capital owner in that situation is not exploiting that community in a gross and like unnecessary fashion to basically make a buck. It's not helpful to society when, like, you know, we pollute rivers because some corporation wants to make a few $1 million. Meanwhile, an entire town of people get fucking sepsis or some shit from drinking their water and having their water fucking poisoned, basically. We see this already with the East Palestine train derailment. Like, that company knew the risks of running their trains the way they ran their trains, and they were not concerned. Simply put, they are not concerned with if that train breaks down, if that train derails, if something bad happens, it lands in a small town. They don't care. That town, all the people in that town, their housing is fucked, their water's fucked, their air's fucked, their health is going to be fucked for the next however long they end up surviving. But, like, you know, that company's not concerned with that. And it's the government's job to protect those people and make sure that they're holding these companies to account and making sure, you know, because you can't ask companies to be patriotic or to care about any of this stuff. That's not what they're in the business for. They're not in the business of patriotism, not in the business of caring. They're in the business of profit seeking. And, you know, luckily for them, I guess, they have a friend in the governor's office in Sarah Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas who is going to roll back provisions that kept kids out of the pool of possible exploited labor. So good job, Arkansas. Not to say that like Arkansas, like the people of Arkansas wanted this or anything. Like, obviously there's like, there's some people, but like, this is This is the result of hiring Republicans, unfortunately, for voting for Republicans. You know, now your kids are going to be, eligible to go back into the mines. And, you ask people what it was like having kids go work into the mines, back in the day. Then, what's the word? Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised when you get the negative outcomes with that, which is kids dying early. And living subsistent lifestyles. But okay, relatively old story. Don't even seen the story, but either. Right. Okay, let's respond to this really quickly. What is this actually? Not gonna tell you. Okay. Cool. This better. Okay, Gaines. This better not be sussy. I'm a bit worried about the. I'm a bit worried about this. What's it called? This title, but I will watch it.
Imagine that an adult male wants to have sex with a 12-year-old girl.
I'm not a fan of this already, but okay.
Imagine that she's a willing participant. A very
cool.
standard, very widely held view that there's something deeply wrong about this, and it's wrong independent of it being criminalized. It's not obvious to me that is in fact wrong. I think this is a mistake. And I think that exploring why it's a mistake will tell us not only things about adult.
Man, this guy took 2 minutes and 30 seconds to tell me why. That's a long time to tell me you're a pedophile. But okay.
Statutory rape, but also about fundamental principles of morality. Well, there's a couple things to say here. One is, even if you are looking for a threshold, let's say there's a threshold. I'm making this number up, but let's say it's at age 8. Still, that tells you.
That's a bit suspicious that you'd pick 8 years old, but okay.
That some adult child sex is permissible. Second, the notion that it's wrong even with a 1-year-old is not quite obvious to me. There are reports in some cultures of grandmothers filleting the baby boys to calm them down when a colicky. Now, I don't know if this is true, but this is sort of widely reported as occurring in at least one culture. And
wouldn't shock me if it happened.
Believe this actually works. If this were to be true, again, I don't know it to be true. If it were to be true, it's hard to see what would be wrong with it. So, yeah, I guess I think, no, I don't think there's a blanket period beyond which this is permissible. If we're interested in willing participation, which is...
Gaines, why did you send me this? This is incredibly sus.
The way I structured it, then yeah, there's a point below which people aren't willing participants in anything, because they don't have intentions or they don't have the sort of mental states that allow for willing participation. But no, I don't think it's blanket wrong at any age. They might think that children can't be willing things in general. It's an odd view in that they seem to will things all the time. They will participation in kickball. They will showing up, participating in the bar mitzvah lessons, bat mitzvah lessons. So there's all sorts of things that they will.
Are we conflating kickball with pedophilia right now?
Well, maybe there's something distinct about sex that they can't really understand it. It's not clear to me that what they're not getting at is consent. I suspect what they want to say is, okay, they're willing participants, they're voluntary participants. They have some understanding what's going on, not understanding we do, but some understanding, but they haven't consented. But perhaps that's so, but that's a different claim from their being unwilling. There's just lots of activities that children engage in that they don't understand all that well. For example, when you first show up to participate in
church
judo tournaments or you prepare for your bat mitzvah.
You didn't use the obvious one.
Rough idea, but it's not clear how much you fully understand it.
Okay, that was really sussy. Okay, I'm not going to watch that again, but I'll bring up the transcript so I don't have to watch that, because the audio, that makes me nervous that I'm going to trip TOS. Okay, let's see. This isn't that long. Yeah, I just wanted you to debunk it. Like, okay. So, the idea... Okay. Let's... I'm going to take these off for a minute so I can... Oh, my ears. My virgin ears. Okay, let's talk about this. So, the central argument, it seems like he's trying to forwarding, is that kids participate and make a lot of choices that they are either not fully aware of or that they don't have a full understanding of, right? To which, like, it seems like he's arguing, if I understand his argument right, that like there is, the idea that like, well, kids choose to like play kickball, kids choose to, play fucking Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever. Like kids choose to do a lot of things, but they don't quite understand these things. They just know what they're, they just know that they're participating in something, right? And like equating that to like sex is so like taking out the like aspect of the adult in this scenario. If we just talk about kids, it's rather it's like we have an understanding that like sex in the like, I guess, performative nature and in the conceptual nature, kids aren't really there of like understanding what they're participating in. And like we understand as a society that like, if there's like that there can be harm because of the participation in that. If we take adults out of this, right, it's like 2 8-year-olds engaging in like, those kinds of activities. That's not good. The reason for that being that it's not really a consent thing. It's an understanding of what they're participating in. And also the outcomes are bad. Any child who's like participating in that sort of stuff at like 8 years old is probably like the outcomes for those children are not good. We already know what teen pregnancy results in. It results in like, a lower quality of parenting. Those parents have a harder time of paying the bills, of actually being able to raise those kids, those children's lives. Like, if you have kids really, really early on and like really, really early on like that, like their lives are like completely thrown down the drain. They're not capable. They're not ready to raise like new human beings. Like just taking even the adult element out of the equation, like these just result in bad outcomes. Like there is no version of our society where like fucking under 13-year-olds are engaging in this stuff and we have good outcomes for it. It just doesn't happen. Let alone the let alone the like obvious predatory nature that this will like breed, basically, because we're talking about like allowing kids or like the idea that like, oh yeah, kids, they if they understand this stuff, like they can obviously be taken advantage of by people who understand it completely or just even more. Like you would open the door to like predatory adults seizing on those children's probably half understanding of what they're participating in. And then we would have to get in the conversation of how do we even identify predators at that point. So I just I know he mentioned there was like a historical thing with grandmothers. I don't care. That's fucking weird. We live in 2023. Not okay. I don't really think I need to substantiate that. There's nothing positive that we know that we get out of that, and even so, it's just sussy as fuck. Yeah. Can they understand when participating in football? Well, no, but like football's a sport and a competition. Like, and also football has a what's the word? Like socially, there's more to playing football than just playing the game of football. There's like strategy involved. There's like teamwork, camaraderie. There's like the putting your kids into a football program is like, not only are you having them like, participate in athletics, which is like good for your health and good for their health, I should say, but like, they're also gaining social skills. So that's also an element that is like good. Obviously you're going to get like injured, playing like football, but that's kind of just a consequence of playing all athletics. Whereas, at the end of the day, this is trying to find a reason for adults to have relations with kids, which we already know is predatory. Like if you want to engage in that with a child, it's it's because they have a lesser understanding. You have a lot of social power over them, and a interpersonal, you have an interpersonal leg up. You have an interpersonal power dynamic. It's predatory. It's just predatory. But that was really sussy. Gaines, I don't know what to say about that. That was just really, really sus. Okay. Anyway. Let's see. Where were we at? Let's see. Sex between adult. We do in some instances. We definitely do in the instance of rape. That would be a negative power dynamic. There's a reason why. God damn, what is this fucking name? Movie producer guy Weinstein is not with us right now. But anyway, I want to take a look at electoralism. Mostly, I just want I want to see some blood sports. Yes, but they're both well aware of what they're involved in. Like, there isn't a version of a child who can understand, like, sex and stuff like that. Or at the very least, if there is, we certainly shouldn't be writing these systems of our society based on those very small edge cases. That, again, don't result in good outcomes. That's also kind of part of it. But, okay, so Trump, DeSantis, they're going to war, which... hopefully, I don't know, there's part of me, no, I hope DeSantis gets in. It would be genuinely entertaining. But according to my father, a longtime Republican voter, it would be damn near foolish to for DeSantis to get in. Like, it'd be idiotic for him to get in. But people have done enough stuff. But
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is now providing the clearest indication yet of where he stands on a major foreign policy issue. DeSantis telling Fox News' Tucker Carlson that he disagrees.
Okay, this isn't Ben, so we can do 1.25.
On Ukraine, putting it this way, saying, quote, while the U.S. has many vital national interests, securing our borders, addressing the crisis of readiness with our military, energy security. The crisis of readiness?
Wait a minute. While the U.S. has many vital national interests, securing our borders, it's fine. The borders are fine. We're not at risk right now. Addressing. So I love the fucking crisis of readiness. We do not have a crisis of readiness. Our military is ready to go at the drop of a fucking hat. Energy security and independence. Yeah.
Independence and checking the economic, cultural, and military power of the Chinese Communist Party, becoming further entangled in its.
Why do I care about the cultural power?
Ukraine and Russia is not one of them. This thinking now aligns DeSantis with the stance of one of his strongest potential rivals, former President Trump. Of course, DeSantis has not actually announced he's running yet. But put that in context with what DeSantis said back in 2015. This was after Russia illegally annexed Crimea. DeSantis was then a congressman, and this is what he said at the time. We in the Congress have been urging the president, referring to President Obama, to provide arms to Ukraine. They want to fight their good fight. They're not asking us to fight it for them. And the president
Dude, he's such a fucking snake.
And Governor
he's
Ron
such a
DeSantis,
snake.
former President Trump's most frequent target from the campaign trail in Iowa. So CNN's Kristen Holmes live now in Davenport this morning.
Honest to God, if I could participate in like if I was able to participate in the Republican primaries, 200%, I would vote for Trump over DeSantis. Because DeSantis is just such a fucking snake. Like he just says the thing that like is popular right now. At the very least, say what you want about Trump. He's a blowhard and an idiot, but he does not back down from whatever his position is. I guess that's not a 360-degree thing, but like the guy at least like he's got a little bit more cojones, I think, than DeSantis. DeSantis just seems to ride the wave.
With more on this, Kristen, good morning to you. How did Trump's first Iowa stop go? Full of jokes, I'm sure.
Amazing jokes. the best jokes.
This was really the first time we heard him go after DeSantis by name
Is
in
it?
a speech since he announced his candidacy for president.
When did this get? Wait.
For his
How
social
old
media
is
page
this?
or for these one-on-one interviews.
This was
And I
9
will
hours
say
ago. You're
that while it
insane.
was a very enthusiastic
Ah,
night,
CNN
the
fake news.
response to those criticisms of the Florida governor was a little bit lukewarm. It was clear from people that we talked to that while they like Trump and maybe they like Trump better, they still like Florida Governor Ron
Dude,
DeSantis.
they are
But one
like,
thing was very clear
they're trying
in the
to
last
make
2 days we spent
DeSantis
here.
a
We talked
thing.
to people. We saw the crowd last night. It was a packed house for Donald Trump. And of course, those CNN poll numbers, Donald Trump is still a huge force in the Republican Party. Former President Donald Trump taking aim at Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in Iowa.
Ron DeSantis. Did anyone ever hear of DeSantis?
Fucking DeSantis.
During his first trip to the crucial early state since announcing his third White House bid.
Ron was a disciple of Paul Ryan.
Ooh, boo.
A rhino loser who currently is destroying Fox and would constantly vote against entitlements.
At this early stage, DeSantis is widely seen as the former president's chief rival for the GOP
Entitlements?
nomination.
Is Trump now pro-entitlements now?
He strongly opposed ethanol. Do you know that? And we don't even know if he's running, but I might as well tell you. If he's not running, I'll say he was fine on ethanol. Don't worry about it.
The Florida governor has yet to announce a presidential run. Earlier in the evening, Trump said
God, he is such a meatball, isn't he?
2024 hopeful, his former running mate, while seeking to deflect blame for the violent attack on the
Dude, why are
Capitol
you
on
even
January 6th,
bothering,
telling the Washington
man?
Post that Mike Pence
Oh no,
was
I
at
thought
least
Pence.
in part
No, I
to
thought
blame
Pence
for the
did
events
say he
that
was
day,
getting in.
saying, quote,
That'd be
"Had
fucking
we sent the
stupid.
votes back to the legislatures, they wouldn't have had a problem with January 6th.
They want
so in many
DeSantis to win the
ways,
primary,
you
so
can blame
Trump.
him for January 6th. Trump's
I wouldn't be
comments
mad
in
at that. They can
response to
split
former
the
Vice President
conservative
delivering
vote.
the
I'm okay with
sharpest
that.
rebuke yet of his former boss. In a private speech during an annual dinner in Washington, Pence telling attendees, quote, "I know that history will hold Donald Trump accountable for January 6th.
History. History does not hold people accountable. People hold people accountable.
Trump becoming the latest 2024 Republican hopeful to visit Iowa.
The agricultural industry should be treated just like the manufacturing industry.
Oh yeah, that's right. Nikki Haley's also
As the 2024 GOP field begins to take shape.
Oh God, is that really is that really the group? I'm with Trump on this one, man. This is my face looking at the rest of these fucking losers.
To take shape. A new CNN poll showing that the former president still remains a leading figure in the party. 40% of Republicans and Republican-leaning independents said they would most likely back Trump for the GOP nomination when given a list of 9 potential candidates.
9?
36% who chose Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
Bro, knock that back down to 4 and let me know what the number is.
With former Vice President Pence and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley at 6% each.
Nobody wants Nikki Haley.
And Don, of course, it is important to note that this is still very early. Obviously, the former vice president, as well as the Florida governor, have not even announced.
Okay. So while the fake news media of CNN wants to continue to make you think that that what's it called? That DeSantis has any kind of chance, Pac-Man apparently sent some correspondent into CPAC to talk to people. I want to see what he found out.
/@
David, why are you so fucking loud?
Snaps, all one word.
David, you're so goddamn loud.
Job. Now remember,
one
of the questions we've been asking is, okay, we get that the speakers go to CPAC and they get paid.
Haley?
And,
nah.
I understand.
Nikki
but
Haley
who in
ain't.
their right mind would attend
If we're
CPAC,
talking like
not
running mate, if we're talking running mate, honest to God, who does he pick? So okay. So this is, so when we talk about like a running mate, yes. Okay. Yeah. I was going to say Carrie Lake, and I'm kind of like, okay, so you either go with Carrie Lake, who doesn't have a position right now, who's wide open. She can run. Like Carrie Lake is probably the best option, because like, if you let Marjorie Taylor Greene, like, run as VP, right? You have to like, you have to find somebody to take over her district. So they probably don't want to risk that right now. But also, like, Trump probably doesn't want to share the stage with Marjorie Taylor Greene. He probably doesn't really want to compete, for like adulation of the crowd. And I feel like both of them like are such like showboaters. Like they're both gonna want to like get the cheers. And I feel like she works better as like a disconnected, like, not a direct part of the administration, but like a raw, like Speaker of the House type person. God for fucking bid. But yeah, like I think Carrie Lake is probably, she makes the most sense. I don't know who else. I don't know like what dude he would like, if there's a like a male on the fucking, like some people made the joke of like fucking Kanye, but I'm like, no, Kanye's gone. But yeah, I think Carrie Lake makes the most sense to me. You know, she's got like kind of the name recognition, she's got the Trumpiness, but she's not like, she's not in power. So like, she's not giving anything up if they if she runs.
Are there teachers, are there accountants who say, hey, you know what? I live in wherever, I live in Texas. I'm going to fly to DC and pay for a ticket to CPAC. What sorts of people are they? And what you are going to see in these videos
brainworms
is that
people, that's
we are
lizard people
talking sense into people. These folks, I don't believe, are reachable. We start with a guy who says the real enemy is big pharma and tech, and then Malik gets him to say what this is really about. It's a globalist cabal, or I should say, globalished, right? But he's not exactly sure who's in charge of it.
Yeah, and we need to realize that the enemy isn't each other. It's the people, the leaders of this world and of our government.
Who are those leaders?
It's the big pharma, the big tech, the World Economic
Forum, I don't like big
the World
pharma.
Health Organization.
Like all these organizations like all have the same people kind of controlling them?
Not the same people controlling them, but they all have the globalist agenda in mind. And I do think there is a cabal of
I didn't copy Pac-Man on that.
Kind of cooperate and conspire together to ultimately create a new world order. They talk about this stuff out loud.
He's hitting all the bullet points, guys. Globalist cabal, World Economic Forum, WHO, Big Pharma, overlords, the entire thing. One world order.
I remember I met a guy like this while canvassing once. It was wild. Yes, the Great Reset.
Where you don't have your sovereignty, or you don't have rights, and you don't have liberty.
Are you guys aware of like the
and one of the amazing
big
things,
what is it like? Like, are you guys aware of like the big like New World Order, like where that stuff comes from? It comes from like a evangelical like. Honestly, let's be honest, it's fucking Bible fanfic. But like it's kind of wild. It's called Left Behind. It's like a whole thing. Look it up on like Renegade Cut has a really good video. I'll see if I can post it in the chat.
Is the level of confidence that these people have in their claims. Now, as I've said before, when it comes to this entire globalist cabal thing, it is true that those who have a lot of money, corporations and rich people, have disproportionately more control than the average person over their elected officials. Or we've talked about that. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's what makes this version,
man, this was 5 years
crazier,
ago,
which is it's completely unnecessary to explain what's going on. You don't need to go to Big Pharma. You don't need to go to globalists. You don't need to go to the World Economic Forum, Great Reset. What's happening is actually in plain sight, which makes it even wilder that they go to this. Now, Malik did something interesting, which is he asked a lot of these folks, is Biden a communist or a socialist? And as you can imagine, it generated some really interesting answers.
Would you say Joe Biden is more socialistic or communist?
Well, socialism turns into communism eventually.
You know, my dad said this. I remember a couple years ago, I went to go visit my dad, who like lives in like Western Virginia or whatever. And I remember he was like, telling me, well, obviously, socialism turns into capitalism. To which I was like, what the fuck do you mean by that? Do you mean like it like evolves, like it fucking like, you know, it like digivolves from fucking socialism into, you know, it's like socialism digivolved communism. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's not how that works. Like, that's not at all how that works. If you even want to make that argument, then what does capitalism turn into then? I'd be curious to see what people think capitalism eventually digivolves into.
I think he wants to
really doesn't. That's another one they repeat now.
Be socialist, but sometimes he's a communist. So
sometimes he's a socialist. Sometimes.
Well, a federal vaccine mandate that fired healthcare workers that fought a pandemic on the
that's social. Yeah.
The fact that there was a period of time during which just federal workers, right? I mean, fundamentally, if we're talking about communism, aren't we talking about total control of industry, wherein Joe Biden would have forced everybody in every industry to get vaccinated? No, that's because it didn't happen.
Under communism, you would have
happened to them, and now
like full control.
System to where they can't fight against,
you would have what's the word? Or the term.
Trump did that. Trump disbanded the
dictatorship of the proletariat
and hindered the ability of our government to fight pandemics and disease. So an interesting critique, more applicable to Donald Trump than it is to Joe Biden. Then we move on to a fan of Mike Pillow. This guy
Wait, that's actually his name? I thought they were making a My Pillow joke, Mike Lindell. Or no, is that Mike Lindell? Is that Mike Lindell? That might be Mike Lindell.
And he's a fan of Mike Lindell, and he says we've got to stop the mutilation. We've got to elect Trump.
What happened to Mike Lindell?
Try to use the machines.
Why does he look so fucked up?
Where did he get that idea? We all know where he got that idea.
It's got to stop.
No, it's not.
They're going after our children, mutilating our children.
So that's not Mike Lindell.
They are going after our children.
I'm so confused.
Stopped. And it's time for weak Christians and weak people of faith.
Weak Christians? Weak conservatives. Oh, I fucking love that. I fucking love. Please, 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 please keep doing the "you're weak Christian," because goddamn, am I sick and tired of people like this who fucking like hoard Christianity for themselves and pretend that they're the real Christians in this country. There are millions of Christians who do not agree with any of this evangelical like fucking crazy nut bullshit. Most of them are embarrassed by people like this. Like,
weak Republicans to all start getting tough on these people. So we've got to make sure he gets.
There's no such thing as a strong Republican.
They're going to try to steal the election from us again.
Right?
How do you think they'll try to do that?
Remember, Trump tried to steal the election.
Well, they'll do that mostly with the electronic machines. I was
yes,
Lindell earlier.
Oh, okay, Mike Lindell earlier.
It almost seemed like he was going to call him Mike Pillow.
And he said we need to take all the electronic voting machines in the country, melt them down, and turn them into prison bars.
Why would that? Wait, they're made of plastic, you fucking morons.
They're stealing our elections in every country. They just stole the election in Brazil from Bolsonaro.
That's not how that works, but okay.
That didn't happen.
It was in a prison until recently. They're going to go after Oban in Hungary. He's another good man and a good leader. And Bukele in El Salvador has just perp walked 40,000 members of MS-13 and other gangs into a prison in their boxer shorts. He's not messing around. That'll help our economy tremendously.
This guy is out of his mind.
Wait, what will that do for the fucking economy? Just because you fucking lock up and like do some fucking just because you like did something to some MS-13 people in your jail, that has no bearing on your fucking economy. Doesn't do anything.
Malik follows his instincts here, and he says, can you explain to me what Joe Biden's biggest failures are?
What are some of the things that you think the Biden administration has failed to do?
Oh, God. Open borders, Afghanistan.
Remember, open borders. Policy at the border has not dramatically changed from Trump into Biden.
Afghanistan was a disgrace and a humiliation for this country.
The Afghanistan withdrawal was exactly what Trump would have done. Only now does Trump come up with what he would have done differently. For about 6 months, Trump was asked many times, what would you have done differently? He couldn't express anything.
And the Chinese. He's obviously in bed with
the Chinese.
He's on his knees in front of
the Chinese.
Of China, and he's not praying.
There it is. That's some imagery. On his knees in front of Xi, but he is not praying. He is doing something else.
Is he? He's sucking that D. Okay.
Moment. In speaking to President Trump over the last couple of months,
are these like all like super short?
Laser focused and locked on. He's ready to go for 2024.
By the way, this guy's been speaking to Trump. I don't even know who this guy is.
He has to win this. It's about the future of humanity.
Thought this was Mike Pillow.
David,
goddammit, you confused me.
We're in real trouble, and then our only hope will be God Almighty. He'll have to come down and smite these people like he did in Sodom and Gomorrah.
It's too bad that won't ever happen, because God, that was a story. You like, what's funny to me is people say like this stuff, and it's like, don't you think it's obviously what the person was referencing in that was like lightning, because we didn't have a way back then to explain lightning, the phenomenon of lightning strikes. But like, why have an understanding of the world?
He's talking about subhuman, not subhumanoid. It's not really funny. We laugh to avoid crying, but this is part of what the right does. They dehumanize. And they act as if and spread the idea that...
Okay. I want to see... I saw Vice also talk to some people. But Vice talked to like some... Here we go. I have not been to National Harbor in like forever.
Really at all in the last few years. You know that Republicans are obsessed with a certain word.
Wokeness is a virus more dangerous
Most of us know that woke is a term created by Black Americans.
I bet you if I just like made a video where I just said wokeness for like, if I just did that for like 50 seconds, uploaded it, and just put in the comments, I hate wokeness, I have no doubt that I'd get enough people to be like, oh yeah, really speaking for the real Americans.
It basically means being aware of what's going on around you, especially when it comes to issues of race and social justice. But last week, some of the most committed
don't be asleep, sheeple.
got together for CPAC, the annual conservative conference, where definitions of this term were murky.
I think the woke today are basically the ones who buy into the mainstream dominant narrative of that everything's a identity-oriented, signaling position to have a different position of power.
What does that mean?
That whole narrative. I think that's people who genuinely believe that are basically brainwashed.
Wokery is part of the Marxist agenda.
It couldn't possibly be the person who can't explain what wokeness is, but then has to like explain it through talking about other people's interests. Like, okay.
Along with ESG, along with the 16.
Oh my God, we talked about ESG.
And BLM.
What do you?
I know what he's talking about. He's talking about economic, it's social and governance, basically awareness in companies. Oh, look at that. Topical.
An attack on regular family values that have been consistently themed in the United States for hundreds of years.
I'm a mom, and so for me, woke is probably a little bit different than just the huge general population. I think
Wait. You fucking illiterate idiot. You dumbass. The fucking... You fucking idiot. You fucked it up. Okay, tell me you guys can see this. The fucking, like, the line, the thing you're trying to cancel is supposed to be under the dash. You fucking idiots. How did you fuck this up? It's under it. It's under it. The fucking, like, take it out is under it. Oh, you fucking morons. Oh, these people. Oh, man.
I think more about my children,
Jesus.
And schools that they're in, and children
you
are
fucking
home
morons.
thinking that they have to accept things that maybe even in our family or in our home. So everything is just being disruptive.
Even if nobody is 100% consistent in how they define it, one thing you are sure to get here is a steady stream of over-the-top invective about it from the stage. In fact, anti-wokeness seems to be the glue that is holding an otherwise fractious GOP together at the moment. And the thing is, GOP anti-wokeness is really just
the glue
for an old idea
that holds this family together.
And its main tenet seems to be that diversity is bad.
We will teach our values and promote our history and our traditions to our children. We will, in other words, be proud of our country again.
Are we not right now?
CPAC, it's easy to think that, quote, the war on woke is America's
proud
main
Texan.
issue.
How dare you be proud in a
Most
Texan?
Republicans think that their leadership isn't focusing on
Nearly three quarters of Americans think House GOP leaders haven't paid enough attention to most important problems. Yeah, probably. I would, I would agree with this sentiment. House GOP leaders don't pay attention to the most important problems. This is true.
Matters most, the economy. It's not clear if anti-wokeness is the winning strategy that some Republican officials think it is.
When I see the state of politics right now and kind of what's on the ballot for 2024, topics like woke are just a complete distractor from actual issues. Homelessness is up, people are out of jobs, people are struggling to pay the bills, gas prices.
You know, I probably disagree with this person on a lot of stuff, but I do wish that this was the GOP we are dealing with. Unfortunately, this person's going to have to come to the realization that his party has left him behind on all of these things. The base is not interested in any of the shit he just said.
Those are the issues that
they're just like not. They're just not.
I feel it's very disingenuous to say that the most important issue is whether or not we're putting transgender bathrooms. Republicans were running this idea for like the past, 3-4 election cycles. Look how that turned out.
GOP voters are hungry for an electoral win.
Nice suit too.
Some of the elected officials we ran into at CPAC are more keen to talk about what they're up to in Congress.
I gave my speech about the border. I gave my speech about the oversight agenda.
Dude, why do you have such a weird fucking
the work
face?
That we have to do to make sure that our government isn't weaponized. So I tried to give a really substantive policy speech about those matters.
Okay. We're focused on reducing crime. We're focused on reducing inflation. We believe we have inflation because Washington spent too much money, but the big priority is trying to get the border secure.
And that's more important.
Cut Social Security. Cut Social Security. Cut Social Security. That's what he just said. Like whenever they say like, oh, we need to get inflation under control. We need to government spending too much money. Like it's always like, all right, what do we cut first? Social Security. Like every single time.
You probably think.
Well, yeah, absolutely. We're concerned about reducing inflation. We're concerned about reducing crime, which would mean securing the border. And
it's also a wonder why when SVB went down, they were like immediately running to like it was because of woke
primaries. But the person who was making a pretty successful attempt
makes
at honing
sense
in on
because that has any bearing on
words,
banks.
Not ours, is someone who wasn't even at CPAC, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. DeSantis has made anti-wokeness his political brand by signing the Don't Say Gay bill, banning CRT in Florida classrooms, and going after Disney. And starting this month, Florida is expected to pass...
Whoa. Wait. Take over to... First of all, Disney is not leftist. Disney is not woke. Disney is a corporation that wants to make money. And they do so by pandering and giving deference to leftist values, because leftist values are actually popular. That's the only reason why they show any deference towards it. If if the GOP was more in power, then Disney would absolutely love to make movies where they don't have to worry about like their representation. They don't have to worry about their casting decisions. Disney would love to go back to the days where they don't have to fucking worry about all the non-white people speaking up about how there are not white, there are only white people in Disney movies. Like, spare me. The only reason DeSantis did any of this is just because Disney came out as opposing him ostensibly, from a political nature. But like, no, like, it's fine. I don't give a shit. He can do this. There's no reason why Disney should have some special tax bullshit for their little region. No, that was always fucking absurd. The hypocrisy is that Ron DeSantis was okay with it until they disagree with him politically.
Florida is expected to pass a bunch more measures, like banning the use of preferred pronouns in K-12 schools and scrapping gender studies and diversity programs.
What does that do for anybody?
This is what
how does that make any child's life better?
Anti-diversity policy looks like, and it might set up DeSantis nicely to tangle with former President Donald Trump.
It won't.
DeSantis is coming out of the pulpit of an actual government.
Make America
right
Florida.
Now.
Oh,
by him
God.
taking that stance against the vote as the CEO of a state, it's actually a pretty bold move. He's not sidelined like Trump is now, talking as a private citizen. He's making that a stance of the executive branch of government.
I remember when I thought somebody running the country like a business would be a good idea. I remember when I held that opinion.
I'm Michael Learmonth, editor-in-chief of Vice News.
What is this? Stop it. I don't care who you are, Michael. Like I remember that used to be like, I remember when I was like younger, that like made sense to me, where it's like, oh yeah, like, like business people, they know how to run things. They know how to like, they know how to like make like, groups of people work or whatever, until like, and this was an opinion I held like before I ever like got on the job market. And then I started working for a living, and you kind of come to find out that like, yeah, your bosses, the owners of the company, they don't fucking know anything. They just make whatever decision makes them money in the short term as quick as they possibly can. Like rarely have I ever worked for a company where I've been like, oh yeah, they really are aware of what's going on, in the world. They really know, they're the ones who have to make the food. They really know how all of the stuff works. Like, you come to realize that like, the idea of having somebody run the country like a business really just means run the country for a small group of people's benefit and at the expense of everybody else who isn't in that small class. It's the difference between like I've emphasized it before, but it's the difference between leftist critique, liberal critique, and then conservatives, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're a leftist, you understand that these are systems that we need to think about and systems that we need to target. Liberals, I notice, tend to not be as aware, or at the very least, not be as interested in the systemic critique. They seem to be more interested in like, at least from where I sit, they seem to be more interested in keeping the system exactly how it is, but just tweaking it so that it's a little bit more fair, instead of coming to the realization, or at least understanding, that it's like, no, the system is fundamentally built like the aspects of income inequality, the aspects of what's the word I'm looking for, what's the word, disproportionate say in the society that's based on your ownership, based on the amount of money you have, that's built into the system of capitalism. At the end of the day, like, you don't solve the issue of income inequality by making capitalism better. You do it by dismantling capitalism, building the next better system, which is, at least in my opinion, socialism. But either way, let me go on break real quick, grab some water, and then we're gonna go over a story in the Independent that ended up on my desk. Note a bud. Were you not following already? I guess you weren't. But either way, I'll be back in like a minute. Let me just go grab water, and then we're gonna talk about a detransition story. So let's have some fun. I need to hit the button to do the thing. I always don't juke that. Okay. right, cool. Okay. Told you that wouldn't be that long. Okay. So, let's see. Give me a second. I gotta move that over so I can actually read the goddamn article. All right. How do I intro this? So, this kind of got put on my radar. So I talked a little bit with a YouTube commenter. You should subscribe to the YouTube channel. Sometimes, actually, more recently, I've been replying to people in the comments section just because I'm that kind of person. But we talked briefly when they came onto the show about detransitioning and like trans issues and stuff. And kind of like the science behind it, what the science has been saying, and kind of where we are in terms of society as to kind of the amount of space or the amount of trans issues that we can accommodate, which I think is pretty much their entire existence. The medical field has caught up to the point that you've probably met, there's at least a non-zero chance you've met a trans person and had no idea. That's how good the science has gotten on this stuff. That's how good surgeries have gotten. That's how good our society's really made progress in that regard, being able to accommodate these people, right? But unfortunately, there is there are the situations where people either aren't able to continue being trans or decide that fully transitioning past a certain point isn't really for them. And I think those people have absolutely the right to make whatever decision will make them happiest. Obviously, with almost any surgery, with any kind of medical undertaking, there's gonna be times when it just becomes too much of a process for you. It becomes too costly. It's not worth it. There are there's a number of reasons why people detransition after a certain point, or even whenever they decide to do that, right? That's not what we're talking about here tonight. So I caught the name Eden Knight. I saw was trending on Twitter, and I started looking into it, and it was really, I don't even really know how to say other than really disturbing. We've talked a lot about trans issues on this channel, and and kind of the and the dangerous rhetoric that we respond to on here. And I want to take a look at an example of, I don't really know how to say it any other way, but of kind of what happens when the kind of rhetoric that we hear from people like Matt Walsh, from Candace Owens, from all your regular anti-trans content creators. I want to take a look at kind of a material outcome to the kind of unacceptance that trans people have to deal with and are quite frankly, can grow up around. So let's just take a look. Let's learn together. I haven't read all of this article. Luckily, this was a Google Doc and a Twitter, thread for a bit. But luckily, The Independent put together an article here. So let's kind of go over it. I think this is one of those things where, we need to recognize the danger that trans people are in for simply existing. But Saudi Arabian trans woman feared dead after posting suicide note saying family had forced her to detransition. All right. A young transgender woman from Saudi Arabia is feared dead after she posted a suicide note accusing her family of forcing her to detransition. Eden Knight, 23, who had been living in the U.S. until late last year, said in a Twitter post on Monday morning that she had killed herself after being pressured into returning to Saudi Arabia and then denied access to her hormone medication. The post, apparently scheduled in advance, alleged that her parents had hired American fixers and a Saudi lawyer in Washington, D.C. to bring her back to the authoritarian kingdom, where trans people face severe discrimination. Yes. Let's see. A separate tweet on Tuesday by an account apparently belonging to Miss Knight's family announced that a, quote, young man with the same legal name as Miss Knight had died, giving details for the funeral. Another user identifying himself as the dead person's uncle gave the same name. Friends told The Independent on Monday evening that Miss Knight had not been seen online for a day and a half, which was highly unusual for her. I don't have a doubt in my mind that she's dead. Bailey Dawes, 27, a close friend of Miss Knight's, who hosted her for 5 months last year at her home in Georgia, is now part of a group of friends collating evidence about her fate. It's horrible to say, but it's not speculative at this point. Another friend, 28-year-old Merrick DeVille. Hey, oh yeah, that's Merrick. Nobody has heard from her. It's been almost 36 hours now, and nobody has heard anything from her. Previously, she had been regularly active in group chats on Twitter and Discord, even after leaving the U.S. Miss Dawes described Miss Knight as a bright and cherished presence in her life who would dote on her 3-year-old son, yet who also struggled with deep depression and anxiety, which a lot of people in general do, and trans people do as well. I don't think it's really a shock that a marginalized community has a higher propensity for depression and anxiety than others. That girl was light. That girl was a light. Miss Dawes said, "I would give anything to bring her back." And what is this, like, incorrect usage of? Okay. Honestly, I really would, because I loved her. We all did. Miss Knight's partner, known on Twitter as Parker, wrote, "Rest in peace, Eden. I will carry you on the shoulders." Okay. Carry you on the shoulders. Oh my God, I can't fucking stop. Okay. Carry you on the shoulders the rest of my life. Your life will carry meeting you. You touched the lives of so many people. I am forever grateful to have gotten to know you. U.S. trans activists and journalists who helped draw attention to the case called for the U.S. government to grant asylum liberally to trans people from countries where they would face harm. That would be nice. According to Miss Knight's LinkedIn page, she attended an American high school in suburbs of Washington, D.C., then an international school in Riyadh before studying computer science at GMU. I didn't go to GMU, but I knew people who did. I definitely visited the campus. Miss Dawes said that she believes that Miss Knight was on an international scholarship that ran out before she could graduate, causing her visa to expire. Because of her identity, she was, quote, extremely terrified of being deported back to Saudi Arabia and was hoping to claim asylum in the United States. In summer of 2022, shortly after moving to Georgia, Miss Knight began hormone replacement therapy, HRT, to feminize her body, which Miss Dawes said absolutely improved her mental health. She had become highly active in the LGBT plus community and left-wing circles on American social media, gaining many friends and around 13,000 Twitter followers at the time of her disappearance. Wow, solid. But around August, Miss Knight was allegedly contacted by 2 Americans who offered to resolve her disagreements with her parents, whom she had described in her post as, quote, strict conservative Muslims. The fixers introduced her to a Saudi lawyer, Miss Knight said, who got her an apartment in D.C. and pampered her, making her dependent on him for food and shelter while pressuring her to stop HRT and live as a man. Interesting. Strict conservative Muslims. Keep in mind, they have like strict conservative Muslims. Strict conservative Muslims are the exact same people as like these like evangelicals that we have here in the States. Like there is no difference between these two groups on this issue. Fearful that she would be reported to U.S. immigration authorities, Miss Knight said that she gave up complying with her partner's demands to repent before boarding a flight back to the kingdom. "I did everything he asked. I cut my hair. I stopped taking estrogen. I changed my wardrobe. I met my dad. And then I had another breakdown. My mom kept telling me to repent or I was going to hell, and I did. I repented and I was broken." So, like, what the fuck was that? Oh, I accidentally hit a button. So, like, before I move on, let me get back to where the fuck we were. I did everything. Okay, here we go. So, a lot of times I think, there is a long history in this country of treating non-heterosexual people with what is essentially torture to, quite frankly, ungayify them. And we understand now that conversion therapy is just that. It's torture. It doesn't help people. It doesn't make them better. All it does is forces an identity, forces a way of living onto somebody that they did not want. And now, and most of the time, leads to bad outcomes. In this case, I think it's, the idea that you would, that like when we talk about like trans affirming care and the affirmation of their identity being incredibly important, this is mostly what we're talking about. Because this is the alternative that trans people have to face. You have family members, you have people who you're dependent on to survive, whether that be like economic or just social, in the sense of like, if these are your parents, if you don't have somewhere else to live, you are kind of just stuck. And they can put upon you they can force upon you to not take the hormones that you want to be taking, to not have your hair the way you want it, to not wear the clothes you want to be. Like, what we're looking at right now is somebody who cracked under the pressure of another person's control, and that control was for nothing. Like, that control did not leave this person any happier. Like nowhere in none of this did Eden seem happier, more fulfilled, more of the person that they wanted to be, only more miserable and more trapped. This shit is fucking monstrous. Like, I don't... Back in Saudi Arabia, her parents regularly searched her belongings and electronic devices while calling her a, quote, failure and an abomination. Miss Knight said she tried to stay on HRT by hiding her drugs, but was found out twice. And realize, keep in mind, this is the world. This is when we talk about the Republican Party and guys like Matt Walsh and all the rest of them. This is what they want. This is precisely what they want. They want kids to not be able to go to teachers, not be able to go to doctors, not be able to go to friends. They want to make sure that as many trans people are in this scenario, are pushed into these into these situations and into this kind of environment, because they know what the outcome is going to end up being. I wanted to be a leader for people like me, but that wasn't written to happen. I hope that the world gets better for us. I hope our people get old. I hope we get to see our kids grow up to fight for us. I hope for trans rights worldwide. On Tuesday, a funeral message was posted on Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram by accounts appearing to belong to a Saudi Arabian family that shares Miss Knight's legal surname. Go to the mercy of God Almighty, young man, said the message, giving the name that matches Miss Knight's unwanted legal name, known in the trans community as a dead name. Lovely. That dead name. So, what's honest to God worse, like, the idea that even in death, they would disrespect this person, they would disrespect her like this, to, like, only acknowledge her by her dead name, tells you everything that you need to know about this family. Like, again, like I don't know how to say this any clearer, but like, this was cruelty. This was fucking evil. Like, all the shit that we're hearing this is fucking demonic. That dead name contained a set of patronymics that matched the name of the Saudi finance official, whose LinkedIn page shows that he was working in Washington, D.C. during the time that Miss Knight attended high school there. Ms. Dawes identified this official as Miss Knight's father based on conversations where Miss Knight pulled up photos of him online to show Ms. Dawes who her family was. That is him. That is her father. I recognize him by his picture and his name. She showed me both of those things while she was there. The family did not respond to a request for comment. Yeah. So how do we kind of summarize this? This sort of stuff, this is the danger that trans people live with every day, and it's the dangerous environment that conservative pundits like Matt Walsh, like Michael Knowles, like many others want to create for them. We're not sure, we're not sure, they posted, they obviously posted a Twitter saying that they killed themselves. We are not sure if that actually happened. But what we are sure about is that they are no longer with us. And regardless of how that ended up happening, my condolences for friends. I'm not even sure whether to give condolences to family, because it seems like their family was rather shitty. But either way, when we talk about the danger of the non-affirmation of trans people, when we talk about the danger of all of the number of bills that have passed or are attempting to be passed throughout this country, the environment they are trying to build, the superstructure that the Republican Party in states after state are trying to construct, is one of pressure, one of hate for these people. This is the structure they want to build. This is the system they want to build. And this is the outcome they want to see. I can't say it any plainer. I don't have the words to really describe how evil this shit is. But, every time we talk about this, we need to keep in mind what kind of world that the opponents to trans ideology actually want, and what the world they are trying to create. Because this is it. Now, this is, as we talk about this topic, also, sorry, I'm failing to immediately transition to the next thing. Anyway, let's take a look. We keep this outcome in mind as we go over the next two topics. I want everybody to keep all of this in mind when we talk about the next two topics, because the next two topics are going to be Michael Knowles and what is her name? Fucking Brett Cooper, naturally. So let's go over these really quickly. But yeah, let's keep all of that in your mind, because this is what these people want. And again, I said it a number of times just now, but I need people to understand that this is the world, the environment that Eden Knight was surrounded by is the one that they want trans people surrounded by, and they want that outcome. That is the outcome they are seeking with all this. But anyway, let's go.
Daniel Kwan and Daniel Swiner won the award for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and the Daniels dedicated their speech to transing the kids.
Oh my God! Thank you.
Amazing. Did they actually?
Our fellow nominees, you guys are our heroes. This is weird. We want to dedicate this to the mommies, all the mommies in the world, to our moms, specifically
The movie's about motherhood, makes sense, right?
my mom and dad, Ken and Becky. Thank you for not squashing my creativity when I was making really disturbing horror films or really perverted comedy films or dressing in drag as a kid, which is a threat to nobody. Yeah, thank you to everybody who worked on our movie.
And by the way, there's nothing.
Imagine hearing that small section and being like, "Yep, that was the only thing they dedicated it." Again, look how excited he is to be like, nope. Being trans, incredibly dangerous for society. It is an affront to everything we stand for. Look how fucking excited he is. He's so fucking excited to jump on this and be like, nope, the drag, super dangerous, transing the kids. Even,
Nothing wrong with that. If a kid is going to be encouraged to pretend that he's the opposite sex, that's totally great. So says Daniel Scheinert, I'm told.
Show me the harm, you fuck. Okay, yeah, like, go ahead, do it. Show me the harm.
Right now.
Show me the harm. Do it.
The libs are saying that it is a conspiracy theory.
Yes.
To believe that the liberals want to trans the kids.
Yep.
That's a crazy conspiracy theory.
Yep.
You can be suppressed on social media if you say that.
Really? You can be? Well, here's the question, Michael. Can you point to me people who have done that? Not people who have abused TOS and threatened violence for transing the kids. Just simply, it's funny. Michael says that it's Michael says that, oh, you can be censored. Funny you would say that, Michael, with 8,000 views on this fucking video, with what is this, 806 likes, and what? Have you been censored, Michael? Have you? No, you haven't. It's almost like it's not actually a thing that you're going to be canceled on social media, or the fuck he said. Like,
and yet we hear it. We hear it from Oscar winners. We hear it from the president. Previously, they told us that the notion of transgenderism at all, there was a conspiracy theory. Oh, you think just because
they're still selling their like gender chocolate, which is actually really funny. These idiots don't realize that they actually make the they actually kind of what's the word, betray their entire argument by making he him and she her chocolates, because it would be very easy to demonstrate how a gender and sex are different things just by simply buying these. I might make that video in the future. I haven't decided, but it's like kind of fucking stupid that they would make she her he him fucking chocolates when it's rather obvious. Like, okay, cool, just thank you, give me resources to prove my point. Thank you, idiots.
Crazy fallacy conspiracy theory. Which before that we were told, oh, you think just because you're going to normalize certain eccentric sexual
Michael Knowles talking about being anti-trans.
That's a crazy conspiracy theory.
Also, you missed a very important article that we read.
Revolution and all sorts of weird, crazy village people stuff all throughout society. No, that's a crazy conspiracy theory. But what do we know? What do we know, folks? We know the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth used to be 3 to 6 months. Now I think maybe 3 to 6 days. Really big historic news. I can't believe we couldn't get to it yesterday. This should have been the top of the show, of course. Michelle Yeoh has become the first person identifying as Asian to win the Oscar for Best Actress. I did not.
Wait, huh? Is that what the article says? Michael, are you in? Wait.
First person.
We need to go back really quick because I wasn't paying attention.
The difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth used to be 3 to 6 months. Now I think maybe 3 to 6.
Oh, I love that meme. I love the meme of the today's conspiracy theory is tomorrow's headline story. That's not at all true, especially since most conspiracy theorists continue to just kind of like mold their theories and like they're never static. They're always like constantly shifting, constantly moving the goalposts, constantly trying to find a way to continue to justify their like insane theory.
Really big historic news. I can't believe we couldn't get to it yesterday. This should have been the top of the show, of course. Michelle Yeoh has become
it's just
the first person identifying as Asian to win the Oscar for Best Actress. I did not.
What do we got? Michelle Yeoh wins the Oscar for Best Actress, making history as the first person who identifies as Asian to win the award. Okay. Michelle Yeoh is the first Asian. Okay. Is that incorrect? Is there something incorrect about that statement?
I did not misread that. This is breaking according to NPR.
Imagine being Michelle spending this much time on like one word.
Making history as the first person who identifies as Asian to win the award. Okay.
He does realize that you could be an American, you could be an Asian American, but not identify as Asian because you identify more with your American background, right? Like he does understand that. Not everybody, unlike Michael, not everybody is like fucking obsessed with their like heritage. Like not everyone's that interested in it. Like what? When if Michael won an Oscar, would he be like, you know, would he be like, I'm Italian because I'm like Mediterranean or whatever the fuck? Like it's some people care, some people don't. If like it's like the smallest deal. Also once again, does it give you less information? No, it doesn't. You are not robbed of any information. It is literally an extra word in the entire sentence. Like being this triggered about it is just fine. Fucking stupidity.
We all just identify. We all are simply people who identify. None of us really is anything at all. Now, the reason they use this language, apparently, is that some other actress.
I mean, he knows it's not going to happen.
Asian actress.
He's not going to. Yeah.
But she didn't wear her ethnicity on her chest on a big sticker that she put on her forehead that said, "I am Asian." So therefore, we now have to celebrate it again because an actress who identifies as Asian won it. Okay.
I don't
This is a much
think
deeper
she said she identifies with Asian also.
This is much deeper than
From what I
racial
understand,
identity
she says
politics,
she's Asian American.
which is
Actually, I
where
don't even know if
most
she
of the
says she's Asian
discussion is
American.
right now. This is an issue of epistemology, which keeps coming up because that's really what's at the heart of the transgender debate. That's in large part why the transgender debate is.
Fuck, she's not even. Okay,
so
she's
hot.
from Malaysia. Fuck,
Why
I didn't
people
even
care so
know
much
that.
about it. It's not because of the handful of people who, throughout history,
God, Michelle, you're
have
such
had
a fucking
confusion about
queen.
their sex and want to.
Yeah, she's from like fucking Malaysia. Where's?
It's not even
isn't
really
Malaysia,
about
like,
the much
not-
larger number of people who are catching on to this ideology for attention. and
Wait,
social
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Michael, you fucking idiot. Wait a fucking second. Show me this fucking map. Yeah, no shit. Oh my God. I shouldn't have even given him this much credit. If this is Malaysia, Asia is this. This would be like Pacific Islander. Therefore, you would say you identify as Asian if you identify with this group up here. Holy shit. Wow, I gave him way too much fucking credit. Oh my God, this is so stupid. This is so fucking dumb. Just the Google search really quickly on Michelle Yeoh would give you the obvious yes, she identifies as a Asian actress, even though technically she's from Malaysia, which is in the Pacific, which is part of the Pacific Islands. But you know, we colloquially kind of batch all of these kind of East Asian countries together. We kind of batch them together, even though they're not part of the continent of Asia. Fucking A. Oh my God, I'm so. Moving on. God, fucking stupid.
It's about this question of epistemology. Can we really know anything at all? Can we know
sure.
that an actress is Asian? Or is the best that we can ever know that someone identifies as Asian? Can we really know anything at all?
This is already such a non-issue now.
For almost all of our civilization's history, we have believed
considered
can know things.
That's what I mean. Like they're they are considered. Yes, that is incredibly correct. But if we're talking like they're not a part of Asia, because Asia is a continent, they would be not part of that continent. By definition, they're not part of the Asian continent. We group them together, but it's why you would put identifies. Like that's why they put that there. Like she is Malaysian and can identify as Asian, but more like definitionally, she's Malaysian. She's of Pacific Island the descent, not Asian technically, but they all get rolled kind of in together.
And we move on and we build on that knowledge, and then we build on more knowledge, and we develop what has been Western civilization. The new idea is radical skepticism, which says we can really never know anything at all. You know, when you're a kid and you say to your friend, "Hey, what if the color that you think..."
Stop talking to me in that voice, Michael. I don't appreciate it. That voice is creepy.
...is blue. What if I see that color as green? Oh, man.
Wait. He does realize that there are colorblind people, and also, like, what makes up color is based on, like, the wavelengths. So if your eye, like... If your vision reads the wavelengths differently, you can see blue as green. Like that is a thing, right? We understand that blue, we have an understanding of like that blue is the color blue because almost everybody else sees blue as the same color. We all identify blue as the specific color. But where blue and green differentiate, the line to which something is blue and something is green, very, very, what's the word? Subjective. Very subjective. It's why, like, this might be an old reference. It's why, like, where's that fucking, like, dress meme from, like, years ago? Let's see, I think this is it. Oh no, is that what it is? It's like, is it white or is it gold? Yeah. It's like this. It's why, like, everyone got into, like, a debate over... Can you open the fucking picture I'm trying to open? It's why everyone got into a debate on, like, is this blue or is this white? Because it's all about, like, lighting. It also depends on what you're looking at, like, and also just what people consider to be blue and white, you know, because if there's any kind of a mix of those two, like this was a whole fucking conversation. Like, color's the worst fucking example to come up with, you moron.
Can we know anything at all, man? You know, maybe, I don't know, maybe you had that conversation as a kid, maybe you had it over a bong when you were a sophomore in college. Either way, though, it expresses the same idiotic idea. We just can't really know anything at all. That's what the transgender debate's about. Well, how do you know? How do you know that Bruce Jenner really isn't a woman? Can you?
Well, that would be really tough if we all didn't have the understanding that sex and gender are different things, that gender is a social construct based usually around a certain number of social traits and social behaviors and secondary sex characteristics. They have not, you know, being a woman has nothing to do with your reproductive organ or has anything to do with your chromosomes, because ask any woman, go ahead, by all means, go ask your mom, go ask your sister, go ask whatever the closest female that you can find. Ask them the last time they thought about their chromosomes and what that meant about being a woman. They're going to tell you, I haven't thought about it because it's not really all that important. Like, it's not an aspect of womanhood, your fucking chromosomes.
Your answer might be, well, because every physical sign points to his being a man. And then the modern libs will say, well, yeah, but how do you know you can trust those signs? How do you know that those really signify anything at all? So what this becomes a debate over is not even just, can you trust your faculties of perception? It even becomes a debate over, say, epistemological realism and nominalism. Are there really such things as man and woman and leftist ears tumbler and microphone? Or is there just kind of stuff, or they're just particulars? And when we try to broaden those out into categories, even the category of man, even the category of woman, even the category of Asian, that all kinds of breaks down. What is it? These are debates that are not new exactly. They've cropped up in the history of civilization.
That's simply not true. Trans people have been around for quite a while now, and we already know that the Nazis burned trans research back in the 1930s. They always try to pretend like this is like a new thing, and it's not. Trans people have always existed. Intersex people have always existed. Like, it's a small segment of society, but they've always existed. We've heard stories of people cross-dressing, people who, there are civilizations from like thousands of years ago where like the gender roles were either completely different or they were rather fluid. Like we already know that gender as the man, woman, nuclear family, the concept of gender that he's talking about is only about as old as the last couple hundred years at most. And even then, I'm being a bit generous, considering women weren't even equal members of society, not until like the 1920s in the United States. So like even then, I'm being really generous. But like the whole like, oh, this has never been a thing until 2020 is just a lie. Is just simply a lie. 100 years ago, there was already research being conducted on trans people. So like, this is just untrue.
But when they've cropped up, we've had to deal with them. They've led to crises. I mean, there's one in particular it really cropped up in the 11th and 12th century, and then it came to a head in the early 13th century, called the Albigensian crisis, there was this movement of people called the Albigensians who believed that the physical world was entirely evil, the spiritual world was entirely good. And so
this sounds cringe as fuck and stupid as hell.
You shouldn't get married. If you're going to have sex at all, it should just be in concubinage. It should just be in these kind of temporary relationships. I guess now we call that cohabitation. You should not have children. You should not do anything.
What does this
permanent.
have to do with literally anything?
You should just try to die off, basically. That is an idea that, if left unchecked, will destroy civilization. And very nearly destroy Western civilization.
That it is.
Now we're facing a similar idea. It's a similar idea. In many ways, it's just the new version of this idea. And so are we going to deal with this seriously?
What the fuck is he talking about?
Or if we start talking about it seriously, are we going to be labeled genocidal maniacs and kicked out of the public square?
Well, Michael, that really depends. It really depends on if you go out like on a stage and you advocate for the extermination of an ideology that is in and of itself an identity. It could possibly, when you call for the extermination of a group, that might tip people off to the fact that no, you're not actually a peaceful person. You're not some good Christian who just wants to read their Bible and live a holy life. No. Like, you want to run a theocracy, which is perfectly fine. I have no problem with that. But if you want to do that, take your bitch ass over to Saudi Arabia and you can run their theocracy. They hold all of the same fucking opinions as you. They hold all the same theocratic values as you. You can go and oppress women there. But unfortunately, in the United States, we live in a free, secular society where we've decided that, maybe women shouldn't be subjected to living barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, led by their man or whatever. Like, we've decided that the ability for women to go out and choose the life that they want to actually produces a happier society, or at the very least one that is able to choose their happiness. Obviously, the society we live in isn't super happy because we live under capitalism, which is a structure that actively bears down upon people's hopes, dreams, aspirations, and all the rest of that stuff. But either way, that's a problem that everybody has, not specifically women in this system. But like, at the end of the day, Michael's not talking about, oh, we just let trans people go and do what they want to do, and we live our life over here, and they live their life over there. That's not what Michael ever advocates for. What Michael advocates for is a system that leads to trans people being forced into detransitioning, trans people being forced into an identity that they do not want to live under, which ends up leading to, coincidentally, them committing suicide, which is at the end of the day the thing that Michael wants. Keep in mind that article that we read earlier. That is the outcome that Michael Knowles is looking for. That is what he is looking for. He is so put upon. He is so fucking bothered that somebody used the word identified in a fucking Oscars confirmation of Michelle Yeoh winning an award. He is so fucking bothered by men wearing dresses. He is so fucking bothered by trans women existing. He is so bothered by all of these things that he is willing to create, build, and advocate for a system, not in that order, obviously, but a system that leads to the oppression, the degradation, and ultimately the extermination of trans people. That is what he wants at the end of the day. And he plays nice with all this bullshit, good Christian, I wear my suit and unbutton my top fucking button. No, fuck that. I have a serious problem with people like this. I grew up Catholic. I grew up going to fucking church. Now, granted, I am an agnostic these days. But goddamn, am I fucking sick of people like this who get on their fucking million person, like, subscriber fucking platforms and pretend that they are some fucking voice of Christian reason when they're not. They're hateful, they're vile, and they want nothing but harm done to certain people. Because at the end of the day, people like this are fundamentalists. They're not religious because they believe in God. They're not religious because they believe in virtue. They're religious because at the end of the day, it gives them a structure, it gives them a system that allows them to put themselves at the top of a society and others below them. That's why he always talks about God. That's why he quotes scripture. That's why he wears this fucking suit. Every single time he does this, it is only to cosplay as an actually spiritual person. There is nothing spiritual about anything that he pushes on his fucking platform. All of it is a vehicle for the subjugation of a group of people that he just doesn't like.
I'm told, stop thinking about that. Well, the stakes are much higher than we are told. We are told that the stakes are, oh, just let anybody do whatever they want to do. Who cares? It's not hurting you. We can't, look, you don't know anything. We don't know very much. Maybe that woman's Asian. Maybe she just identifies as Asian. I don't know. Who knows? Well, if we don't know anything, then we're not going to have a civilization. We're going to very quickly forget the civilization that we once had.
What civilization, Michael? Would you like to tell me? No, because he doesn't know what the fuck a civilization is. To him, a civilization is just a bunch of white people. That's what he thinks in his head. He's just thinking like, man, if we let all of these people who, don't get married and aren't barefoot pregnant in the fucking kitchen, making me a fucking sandwich along with the rest of my my good Christian white brothers out here, then, our civilization will fall. It's also why they're so fucking obsessed with the fucking birth rate bullshit. It's also why they're obsessed with that. But yeah, again, like, this is the outcomes they want. At the end of the day, this is the outcome they want. They want trans people in the closet. They want them to either not be trans, which is basically to live a life under an identity they don't want to, which makes them generally unhappy, which leads to suicide, or they just want them to just do it like now. That's what they want. That's the outcome they are steering towards. Conservative, but so are many black Christians and Arab Muslims, etc. I think it's fundamentalist religion, not race for him. I'm sure. Okay, let me be clear. I have not watched every Michael Knowles video. I have no doubt that I can find one or two where he expresses racist values. No doubt. But yeah. At the end of the day, to be a Daily Wire host, at the end of the day, you have to toe the Daily Wire line, which in and of itself, most of the time, is rather racist. Whenever it's the reason why they hire Candace Owens, so that she can say all of the anti-black stuff that they would like to say, but Ben Shapiro knows he can't say. Ben Shapiro knows he can't get away with constantly being like, it's black culture, it's black people not trying hard. So they roll out Candace Owens to do all that, even though like Ben doesn't have any kind of idea or understanding of black culture. He couldn't even explain black culture, let alone like if Ben wanted to look at like one study that like looked at outcomes for African American families in the United States, it becomes rather obvious off the bat as to as to like what systems are bearing down on these groups and creating those situations. And none of them have anything to do with melanin. None of them have anything to do with intelligence. They all have to do with the systemic oppression of black people in the United States. But moving on from Michael, we have to look at kind of the Zoomer equivalent of on the Daily Wire, which is, let me bring it up really quick. There we go.
Welcome back to the comment.
Brett Cooper. Let me go get my, you're right. Let's get Regina George in here. Let's go. Mean Girl Supreme. All right, let's fucking hit it. What do I have to say? They've been really obsessed with Dylan Mulvaney. I don't really know why. I'm assuming it's actually, I do. It's just because they're trans. That's pretty much it. They're just upset that they're trans. What is that there again? Oh, what is this now, Gaines? What do you got for me now? What do you got? Let's see. This is 21 minutes.
I think it's a...
This is 21 minutes. We're not watching this tonight. Define the fallacy used by the regressive left. Oh my god. Ugh. Okay. We'll watch this. I will put this in my watch later. Where's my... Oh, it's always weird doing this on, what's it called? On what's it called? On desktop. It's always weird to me. Everything's in a different spot. All right, let's go.
Section. I'm Brett Cooper.
Nope,
Today,
turn this down,
guys,
please.
March 13th.
Turn it
it's an
down. There we
important
go.
day. Today marks exactly 1 year of the legendary, infamous, iconic, unforgettable Dylan Mulvaney attempting to be a woman. And what a ride it has been.
Dylan, you son of a bitch. It is bad.
You know, I really just want to take a journey down memory lane. You know, the first video, day 1 of being a girl. Then we went to, you know, Dylan trying to wear high heels, Dylan buying tampons, Dylan getting facial feminization surgery, Dylan talking.
Tell me what... Okay, cool. So, off the bat, tell me what's illegal or wrong about any of these things. Go ahead. By all means. By all means. Oh, yeah. Let me switch over. Tell me what the harm created here is. I'm sure I won't hear it, but, you know.
Talking with the president, saying that more children should be able to mutilate their bodies. I mean, wow.
This is my 221st day of publicly transitioning.
Whoa, crazy.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk about that. But before we do, you guys know the drill. Make sure that you like this video.
Don't do any of that. Don't do all of that on this stream right now.
Subscribe to this channel if you have not already.
No, moving on.
Trans jokes, I'm sure it's bound to be a time for sure. Anyway, this is how he announced it. If you're interested in watching it, you're more than welcome to pay the $5. I am kind of tempted.
Shouldn't they be happy about this? They're playing like fun Fallout music. 50s like Fallout music. Shouldn't conservatives fucking love this? Shouldn't Daily Wire be like, ah, yes, that good old traditional music that there is?
He's really trying to look like a combination of Mary Tyler Moore and, you guys remember the show That Girl? It was like my homeschool.
Oh my god, oh, that's why. You know, I was going to say like, how the fuck, what did you grow up with? But yeah, that makes so much sense that Brett Cooper was homeschooled.
There's Dylan.
Makes
One
all
night only
the sense
at the
in the
Rainbow
world.
Room. Anyway, so that's happening tonight. That is how Dylan is celebrating. And this is going to be the first time in a
God
long
forbid.
time that Dylan is performing on stage. And I emphasize stage because we all know that Dylan has been performing as a girl for the last 365 days. It's truly been the performance of a lifetime, in my opinion. A lot has changed for Dylan over the past year, and I will let him share a little bit here. This is what he posted last night as he was getting ready for day 365.
Day 364 of being a girl, and tomorrow is the big day 365. And I just thought we should catch up before the craziness that is tomorrow. I may or may not be on a very beloved woman's talk show, so be on the lookout for that. And
I think it's true.
What there's a reason. Again, there's a reason why Regina George is here, because this is always just Mean Girl segments.
Very more, I'm pretty sure.
nervous for my show tomorrow night, but I am so excited for you to see what I love to do most, which is singing and performing. And I lost my voice at the beginning of the week, and I was totally freaking out, but I did get it back. And I have cried so much this week.
Wow,
because
he really is just like a girl.
I haven't really processed this whole year, and it's all catching up with me.
Well, if it is, don't you think this video would be taken down? Yeah, like I'm critiquing this. Like, so if they do any misgendering, obviously that's not. I'm not going to be. That's not going to be on me.
So
I can easily appeal that.
At a time when the community is so under fire and there's so much darkness in this country surrounding transness, I think it's just been heavy. And, you know, tomorrow is a joyous day. I'm going to celebrate.
Dylan, you're literally putting on your trans show in NYC, where I feel like 50% of people there are either trans or like want to be trans.
You know, do I need to look up the stats? Do I need to look up the polling of how many people? And you know what? Let's do it. New York City. Let's find out. Let's use facts and let's get an old one. You know, we'll use facts and logic here. Ben Shapiro's favorite what's it called? Favorite 1-2 punch. New York City percentage of people who identify as trans. Let's see. 5.1% of the state's adult population identify as LGBT. Subpopulation analysis 4.9%. And 0.6% as trans. So nowhere near half. It's just man, it's got to be unfortunate to be this wrong. Brett, did you let Uncle Matt teach you math? Because that sounds like a number Matt would come to.
Okay. There is this underlying hate that exists in this country right now, and we all have to be aware of it.
There is, fueled by people like the person who's
really
in this video.
And like show up for all trans people right now. We need it so badly. And I'm happy.
So weird.
How are you? What's going on? Tell me all the things.
The strangest parasocial relationship.
I'm gonna take a little bath and then it stayed.
Girl, you're on a fucking you open your channel saying welcome to the comment section, I'm Brett Cooper, blah, blah, blah. Like what are you talking about? You work it, this is what you do for a living. You can't say it's fucking weird. You build your job is to build parasocial relationships with your audience so that they are motivated to subscribe to your channel, to subscribe to Daily Wire Plus, to do all the rest of the bullshit. Like, stop pretending like this is weird. Like, god damn.
And I love you all so much. And thank you for changing my life. You have changed my life.
I mean, literally.
I love you. Sleep well. I'll see you tomorrow. It feels like my birthday or like my wedding. I don't know. It's the weirdest.
Imagine having to deal with people like Matt Walsh, Brett Cooper, and the rest of these people,
Also,
like hating on just your existence and still being able to be like this, like at least performatively happy and at least this like performatively jovial about your life. Like that's got to be a hard mask to put on, where like, you know, like how many views people get for like hating on you and you're still like holding strong and being like, no, I'm not going to let these people bring me down, or at the very least I won't let them bring my content down. I can respect that.
What are you doing with your neck? Go away. Oh my god, I paused that at the wrong time. Anyway, in the video, you can just like sort of see it at the end when he moves the camera down. But Dylan is wearing the new merch that he just released, and it has like a photo from his photo shoot post like facial feminization surgery and all of that stuff. And even Dylan,
God forbid,
who is like the most beloved internet person on that side of things right now, came under fire because his t-shirts were not size inclusive enough. And people were like, oh my god, Dylan Mulvaney is fat phobic. Oh my god, Dylan. And then he had to go and make more t-shirts that went up to like XXXXL because apparently that was necessary. That's just kind of an aside, but it just goes to show that even Dylan Mulvaney can get attacked by these people. Like, they are rabid. They do not care. They will take anybody down. You can literally...
Who are these people? Like, most people who complain about that on Twitter are like, they're not leftists. They're just people complaining. Like what makes them ideologically left? Like, you wanted to wear a t-shirt. Only leftists wear t-shirts. Like, what does that have to do with anything?
Give them your entire soul, your gender, and they will still find a problem and pick apart your words. And it must be so sad and exhausting to live under the shadow of that and to constantly be worried that something that you might do could be deemed offensive by somebody or could be triggering. Your entire existence, you have to tip.
It's called having a backbone, especially if you're on the left. The biggest problem the left has, honest to God, is a lot of gatekeeping and a lot of, I don't want to say concern trolling, but like, like the problem with the left is like we're very inclusive of like marginalized groups, but like there's always going to be like somebody, like, you know, if you're making merchandise and you didn't like and you're not accommodating a certain size, like there's gonna be somebody who comes along and is like, what about for the people who need that size? And it's like that's sure, I like we can make shirts for that size, it's not really a problem, but they turn that into like a like the left has a habit of allowing that to be like part of the discourse, which I don't actually think was part. Like, she's making it like it was a big part of the discourse, which I didn't hear about it. Granted, I hardly hear anything about Dylan Mulvaney. For the most part, seems like they make their content and people seem to like it, and somebody was like, hey, could you make more sizes? It's not really I have no doubt that they're mischaracterizing it, but even if she's not, even if it was some lefty being cringe, happens, like, it's not really that big of a deal. But it is like, it is an aspect of the left that we need to work on, is like being a little bit better about, I don't know what the word would be, like just being less, I guess vitriolic towards each other, maybe is the word I'm looking for. Just not like, I guess, like, not tone policing, but like understanding like who you're talking to and if they're actually in opposition to you, or if, like, they're just not. Like, if somebody's not in actual opposition to you, you don't need to treat them like they are. But again, we're getting off topic.
That BS.
I don't
Stop
really
it.
care
Kick
about
rocks.
any of this.
Live life for yourself. It's just absurd. Anyway, back to what has changed. Dylan is a lot more famous, obviously. Their career is blowing up thanks to TikTok and everybody online.
Who
they have
isn't
a lot more
blowing
money.
up on
they have
TikTok?
a new face, new wardrobe. But one thing has not changed in these 365 days. Dylan is still single.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
Now,
Oh my God, I could say this for literally, that'll be TOS. That like, or not TOS, but that'll get copyright claimed. But yeah, like, great question. Why do you care about any of this,
this blew
Brett
up
Cooper?
last week because in a new interview with People, Dylan said that, there's one thing he hasn't done yet, and that's have his first kiss as a girl. His first trans kiss. He said, I'm getting a little impatient because, especially when you're feeling yourself and even looking at that Grammys picture, I'm like, that's somebody who should not be single. But then you're like, wait, why is nobody in my DMs? That's somebody who shouldn't be single. How egotistical can you be?
Oh my God. Like, it's always like, let's find every little thing to complain about somebody else's speech. Like these people talk about like freedom and like, just wanting people to like live their lives, but like, it's like, let them complain about being single. Like why? Like, everyone complains about being single. Can we please like move on to a real critique? Everyone bitches about being single. Nobody likes being single. Can we move on, please?
Like, did you actually say that in a magazine? That's something that you joke about with your friends when you're wine drunk, not something that you tell People magazine.
Wait, so it's a perfectly normal thing to say?
That you're upset that people aren't in your DMs because you're feeling yourself and you
it's
think
People
you look
magazine.
so
Let's
hot,
not
so
pretend
much
People
like a woman,
magazine
and now you're pissed at people for not being in your DMs. No, get over it. Now, this
some like
is
it's like
Grammys
Time
Dylan
magazine or some
mentioning.
nonsense. Damn, that's a fucking fit.
No comment. We can move on from this. Somebody said, all the makeup and hair extensions in the world can't make that homely dude pretty.
I love I love this channel. The thing I like about Brett Cooper's channel is it's literally like, all right, I'm gonna like talk shit about like this or that person or topic, and then I'm going to just pull like single like tweets that I can find that are like vitriolic and unnecessarily mean, and just use them as like validation for my disgust of another person. Like it really is like, this really is hate porn. Like that's what this channel is. This channel is fucking hate porn. Because it's just like, oh, would you like to watch a video where we just make fun of and like ruthlessly critique somebody for literally existing? Cool, then come to Brett Cooper's The Comments section, and we can all share our mean comments and just be mean to people, because that's our political movement, I guess.
Somebody said, guess there just aren't enough fetishists in the world for him to find someone.
This got 11 likes.
And said, the content creator wonders if her rise to fame has deterred people from reaching out for dates. I've gotten on these apps now, and I think that there's something daunting about the fact that I am so public about my life. I mean, maybe, but that just kind of feels like a weird excuse. I mean, obviously, I think there's a small percentage of people that like, don't really want to like touch a famous person, that kind of thing. But you know what? I feel like there's more people that want to be involved in that. Most of the time, you have to be more skeptical. Because
I don't think that's true. A lot of people are intimidated by like famous people. I don't know how many people would actually like, if you went to like your fucking like Tinder app and like who's like who's an actress? Give me an actress. I'm blanking on actress, right? And you get on your Twitter, you get on your Tinder account, and it's like and it's like the homegirl from it's Jenna Ortega, homegirl from Scream and from the fucking Wednesday show. Like, you would be a bit intimidated by that, right? Because you'd be like, shit, they're like famous, rich, like I don't want any part of that life. Like, yeah, like you'd obviously be like, people have talked about
people
this.
want a piece of you. So if you don't have any of that, then Dylan,
Only
I think we have a
psychopaths
bigger
that
problem.
like
there are bigger
create those
fish
kind
to
of like
fry if there
weird
literally is
relationships.
nobody in your DMs. But also, Dylan, it could just be the people aren't interested. Like, straight men want a biological woman with all of her parts, and gay men want a man. They are gay.
She does know that there are people who don't hold any of these opinions, right? Like, there are straight men who are perfectly fine with trans women. Like, it's not like it's not uncommon. It's not really like weird at all, actually.
Hey, somebody said straight men don't want to date men pretending to be women. I am not even sure if homosexual men want that. No, they don't, because they're gay, because they like dudes. They don't.
Well, yeah. Why would you want to date a trans woman if you're a man? You're gay. You probably enjoy like penis, and you like manly features. That's kind of how that works out. Whereas if you're a straight man, you probably like vagina, and you probably like titties, and you like womanly features. Like at the end of the day, like we already have a case for this on the right. Go look at like Blair White. Blair White, you would not, if nobody told you Blair White was fucking trans, you would have no idea. And as a straight man, if you saw a picture of Blair White, you'd probably be like, damn, she's pretty hot. Because yeah, she's incredibly passing. Blair does, I'm assuming works out, takes care of her body or whatever. But yeah, fucking, didn't Andrew Tate come out and was like, yeah, trans women, women, yeah, basically. Like, granted, I mean, it's Andrew Tate, so in his own unique way, he was affirming that trans women are women. But obviously.
Don't like dudes who got tired of being men and became women. You've got a really small percentage of people that would be interested, Dylan.
That is
Somebody
true.
said he has 0 qualities a man would want and 0 qualities a woman would want, but TikTok. And you know what? That is objectively sad. It is, because this person has put themselves in a position.
Wait, because the pool is smaller to a degree? I mean, I don't know if that's sad. As long as you find somebody that you love, I don't really find that to be sad. I'm sure Dylan Mulvaney will meet somebody who's interested in them. I mean, that's totally fine. Like, I'm sure, like, when that happens, will any of this be relevant? No. I thought we didn't care. I thought we didn't care, Brett, but apparently we do.
Where they are so ostracized. Like, I genuinely do feel for Dylan, because obviously everyone, regardless of your beliefs or what you identify as and all that, everybody wants love and wants companionship. And you should try to find that, because it's a human desire. We need that. But he has put himself in an impossible situation. And now
not
he's
impossible.
trying to rationalize it and is pissed off that people aren't in his DMs and like banging down his door for dates.
Whoa. Pissed off? Is that what you read from that? Obviously being a catty bitch. Like...
Thankfully, though, he did not say the people not being in his DMs was bigotry or transphobic, but I am sure that it will come, because that is a very normal talking point. Anyway, the article goes on and says...
Wait, but the simple talking point is if you don't like trans women because you don't think they're women, that's transphobic. That's just kind of how that works. Like, it's just kind of how it works. Like, there's not really
the star who identifies as queer
by
is
definition.
Open with her fans about how she hopes to find a relationship and the pressure she feels to make her first kiss after coming out as trans count. I very much feel like I get a do-over as far as some of those negative experiences that I have had romantically, and I do want to do it right this time. Now, I actually don't hate that sentiment. There were so many people in Dylan's comment section under videos about this where people were saying, just, kiss your friend Chris, just kiss anybody, just get it over with, go to a bar, get drunk. It's like, that's not...
that's not
advice.
Fun.
Like, maybe it works for some people, but if this person genuinely wants to find a connection, I'm going to be on their side in this situation. Anyway, I'm still not over
that's
Dylan
really
saying
nice.
that he is
It's
not
very nice of
somebody
Brett
that
Cooper
should be
being
single. Like, just
supportive.
saying that is a turn off to decent people. Also, I loved this comment. Somebody said, even this person is not attracted to the type of people that would be interested in dating him. I have the impression that he thinks he's going to date Henry Cavill. Like, seriously, like, to be
What? What does that even mean? I'm so fucking... What is... Give me that comment again.
Anyway, comment.
Even this person, again, 10 likes, is not attracted to the type of people that would be interested in dating him. I'm assuming they're talking about Dylan Mulvaney is not attracted to the... Does he mean transphobes? Like, yeah, trans people aren't interested in dating cishet transphobes. It's not really something they're looking for. Also, do we know what Henry Cavill's stance is on trans women? I know what his stance is on Freya or whatever the fuck, the girl in The Witcher. I have an idea of what his stance is on her, but like yeah.
Somebody said, even this person is not attracted to the type of people that would be interested in dating him. I have the impression that he thinks he's going to date Henry Cavill. Like, seriously, like, to be fair, in the right lighting with the right makeup, like, post the facial feminization, whatever it's called, like, Dylan looks a lot better than most of the people out there that would be interested in him. Like, I would not want them either. I'm sure the people that are actually in his DMs are, like, the green-haired, blue with huge nose rings and all that stuff. Like, no, Dylan...
I love how they had to, like, not... Honest to God, okay. This is, like... Can I ask why do conservatives, when they want to, like, do, like, the let me show you, like, a trans person, or let me show you, like, they always have to, like, Photoshop some, like, not real person? If you want to see, like, a trans man or a trans woman, there are content creators, there are just people there are, like, people on, like, so, like, there are people who you wouldn't know they were trans unless they told you. Like, there are trans people who pass. You've probably bumped into one in your life and you didn't notice. Like, it's all they always want to use, like, the most, like, unpassing example to exemplify all trans people. Like, it's so just fucking honest.
Is above that. Like, even I will say that. Like, have you seen Dylan's hair? It's amazing. I want to buy whatever hair products he's using, which actually I could buy on Amazon.
Stop it. Stop doing ads. Stop it right now. I don't think preferring to date cis women is transphobia for the same reason. Well, yeah. If you If you like dating cis women, that's not transphobic. It's the specific, like, transphobia claim to people who are, like, in terms of, like, dating is, like, specifically if you do not date trans women because you don't think they're women. That's it. That that's pretty much the long and short of it. That's pretty much it. You can absolutely be, like, okay with dating with not dating, like there was discourse one at some point, and I'm sure it's it'll always probably continue, but there are trans people who, for example, haven't had bottom surgery. So you might have, like, a trans person who a trans woman who passes, except they might still have their, like, penis, right? And you're not real, you're not into penis. That doesn't make you transphobic. That's having like, genital preferences, which is different from being like, oh, you're not a woman. Like those two things are different opinions, So yeah, and I think that's actually Blair White's situation. Blair White, last time I heard somebody mention her, she has not had bottom surgery done. But, like, you wouldn't know that, and you would certainly, like, it's reasonable to say that, like, Blair White is an attractive woman, but, like, if that was your sticking point, then, like, that's not transphobic. That's having genital preferences, which is fine. Like, everyone has those.
Except if you're an XXL, apparently you can't get his t-shirt. And this self-important attitude seems to be becoming the norm, though, with Dylan, because after
it's the norm for literally everybody.
He's been feeling himself a lot. Like, he made this video, which also made the rounds on social media.
It's day 335 of being a girl, and
Jesus.
I wanted to go on
man, fucking modern day science, man.
record to say that this might be the hottest I've ever looked and will
True.
ever look in my
True.
lifetime. And I'm making this video so that in thousands of years, there will be evidence. Is it the dress?
Wait, I think I've seen this video.
Is it the makeup?
I've seen this video.
Or is it the hair?
Dude, you can do it. You can do a lot with hair and makeup, man. You can like Finster should tell you everything that you can do a lot with hair and makeup.
I think it's the extensions. And when I have extensions in, I don't know my name. I don't know where I live. I just know that I love these. And I know that I look like I could steal a husband, but I want to promise you, look me in the eyes. I want to promise you that I would never do that to you. Okay, I am a girl's girl. And I love ya. Woo! But seriously, this is good, right? Okay.
My God, there's so many.
Yeah, it's like like the thing with like Brett Cooper's channel I also find is it's just like, holy shit. Like I can't help but always just be like, why are you so fucking mean? Like this person is like happy, they feel fulfilled, and you take this moment to like try to bring them down from that. It's fundamentally mean girl activity, and it's why Regina George is sitting above me.
Any of those recently. Like, everybody should have some self-confidence, but now,
yeah, I think that's where I recognize it from.
Mixed with you
because
saying
I know I
that
watched
you
that.
feel yourself and that you're somebody who shouldn't
God
be
forbid.
single. Like, I'm out, dude. Like, let's bring it down to earth here. Like, I do not think you stealing
Some people like
husbands
that
is
shit.
ever going to become an issue. So I'm glad we've all cleared this up. Dylan also did a video relatively recently for his video series.
There are Republican
Dylan Does
senators who
Dating,
have,
which is how he says it, and it's basically about his lack of dates. But
who,
anyway,
have
it's on
been
the same
caught
subject.
talking
Probably
to
could watch it together.
people of the
Does dating.
See, guys, I did it right.
Tomorrow is
you know,
Valentine's
how many
Day, and
you know, like how many times have we heard of like senators and like, or like, you know, even state senators, governors, all the rest of stuff getting into like sex scandals with like, you know, with people of the same sex and they're married. Like how many times do we hear this? This is a pretty common thing.
It seemed like the right time for an update. Well, there's not much new to report. I still haven't been kissed as a girl, and I assumed that I would have.
Girls go through it for about
365,
couple,
but every day I'm realizing
1,000
that
days.
probably won't
Yeah, a couple
happen,
thousand
and it's
days.
okay.
Yeah,
we're okay here.
365 each. Yeah, a couple thousand.
I put
That makes
myself
sense.
out there, okay? I asked my friends.
Yeah, a couple
to set
years,
me
you know?
up. I'm on the apps. I mean, I finally got on Raya, and after like 4 years on the wait list, I would match with someone.
I don't even know what that is.
Excited, and then get unmatched, and I was like, "What kind of sick game is this? Haven't I been
It's
through
called
enough?"
Dylan is
online
realizing
dating.
The dating apps are shit. The dating.
Not wrong. I've heard like well, obviously the gay community has Grindr, and I've heard that's a much higher success rate there. But we're, you know, that's quartering off into a community.
It's a game. And I'm sure that it is even worse for you, and I genuinely feel bad, and I feel empathy because you have put yourself in this situation where people are like, oh, it's a girl. Oh, it is not. Like, yeah, no shit, people are unmatching.
And I do have like 2 or 3 prospective dates, but here's the thing. I can go on one of these dates as the first one, and I could even kiss the person. But what if they ghost me after that? And
these are the dangers.
As a girl to someone random.
Okay, I didn't think about this.
Yep. These are the struggles of being welcome to girlhood.
Before, but it genuinely feels like he's role-playing as a 16-year-old girl. Like, these aren't the conversations.
I mean, these are kind of the
26-year-old has. Like, you just get over it.
I mean,
You
these
just
are
do
kind of the
damn
experience
thing.
that you have.
This is literally like being silly, like sleeping.
Wait. Didn't you just say that it should be meaningful? You just said it should be meaningful not a couple minutes earlier.
Over 15, 16-year-old girl. Oh my God, should I wait? Should I do it now? Like,
yeah, it's like kind of part of the process.
what are we doing here?
It's like a whole
so
thing.
Strange.
It's fine.
I will say that FFS has completely changed things mentally for me because now I can walk into a party and feel confident enough to flirt with someone.
I don't know what
not
FFS
instantly
is.
shut
What is
myself down
FFS?
From the idea. And it's also nice knowing that they are
For fuck's
meeting me
sake.
post-surgery
That's the only-
rather than having it during.
Oh, facial fat. Okay.
So he's basically saying he feels better going into a party, flirting with guys because he looks more like a woman, so that he can
'cause they
entice
are.
them. And then later he has to say, "Hey, actually, dude here, dude down there." Like, that's even weirder.
That would be traumatizing.
That would, right?
Wait, wait. That's under the assumption that Dylan Mulvaney is not disclosing that, like, hey, just to like let you know, this is like, or even like we've heard stories of that happening, which like like at the end of the day, that's just a like interpersonal interaction that like people have. Like at the end of the day, it just comes down to being like, oh, okay, well, sorry, I'm not really into dick. Sorry about that. And you know, you go your separate ways, have a nice conversation. It doesn't really need to be anything drastic. The issue I have is always like framing it as this like they're framing it as like a trap thing, and it's not. It's a you don't go up to women and like ask like, hey, real quick, can you let me know, do you have a vagina? Like, that's not a thing that you end up asking. So it's not a thing that anybody that you're gonna get disclosed to you. But like, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. Like, you know, like certainly like that scenario actually puts trans people in a lot more harm, but also the circles that Dylan Mulvaney is probably like, you know, swimming in is probably not the kind of those types of people aren't going to be like the abusive, like, you know, assault murder types that like a lot of trans people run into in the dating world.
Right? Like, I think honestly it would have been better if it had started when you still had the pre-FFS and they were there throughout the entire ride, because then they knew what they were getting into. Oh my gosh. I mean, there are horror stories on TikTok of people tricking other people into dates. And they go, oh, I'm trans. Oh, look at me. And they're like, oh my God, what am I looking at? Like, you get what I'm saying.
Wait. There's TikToks where people are exposing their genitals now? I don't think that's true. I feel like this is one of those, there's a TikTok of somebody saying this happened, but something tells me we're not revealing our genitals on TikTok and posting it to the internet.
But the one thing that I can assure you is that I'm going to be the best girlfriend ever. And that person is going
I
to
have
have a
no
lot of
idea.
fun, and I
Is he
can't
on
wait.
an Islam arc?
Oh, Dylan.
I know he's been doing like
I know that this might be shocking.
debates a little bit more
maybe
frequently.
When people finally are offline, when they put their phones away for the day and they aren't clapping like seals, liking and commenting yes
What's
queen
wrong with
on
seals?
every person's video, they still
God
have some
forbid.
common sense and preferences, and deep down they know that this is not a woman, that it is a game of dress up. Because if there is nobody in your DMs, if you're not getting any matches, that has to mean something. And it really is a game of dress up. And every day I open up my phone and I realize that the game of dress up has...
You know what a much more simple, what's the word? Do you know what a much more simple explanation would be if you don't have matches? It's actually really, it's actually rather, talk to anybody who's been in online dating spaces. If you're not getting matches, it usually means you're probably not like, your profile probably isn't the most, what's the word, like marketable usually. Generally, like, because of the way that like the dating apps are all gamified and kind of, honest to God, the way that they kind of sequester people into like basically only being able to look at a picture and like a small blurb about somebody. Like, yeah, a lot of times people just like mindlessly are like not hot, which, fun fact, Dylan Mulvaney as a woman and fucking Stacy over here as a woman will get like a left swipe on both of them means the same thing in the world of like the dating apps. Like, it doesn't actually, I don't actually think it means anything, because it doesn't mean that much when people swipe right to begin with. Like, and also there's so many fucking fake accounts on there. Like, online dating is fucking garbage, but still, yeah, like to use this as some objective like measurement is ridiculous. We wouldn't use this for any other group.
It's gone even further. Now, this video is not of Dylan, but it just kind of fit into where I wanted to go with this episode, so I'm just going to share. I saw it on PragerU's Instagram. It was just so weird, and it just drives the point home, just like how absurd and fake this all is.
Today, I want to tell y'all how I could be the world's first pregnant transgender woman. Now, am I
Cool.
actually going to be the first one? Who knows? But you're probably wondering how...
Probably not.
How can a transgender woman be pregnant if she doesn't have a uterus? Well, that's why you do a uterine transplant. So long story short, a donor uterus...
Wait, you can get a uterine... Holy shit. That's crazy.
be planted into me. It would be fertilized.
Amazing.
A baby would be born, and
Amazing.
then the uterus would be taken out so my body doesn't reject it. And this procedure has already been done on some cis women, meaning women who were born women and identify as women. And
that's kind of cool.
Of them have been successful, and babies were born from donor uterus.
That's
now, of course,
fucking
the baby
cool.
Technically, would not be my biological child unless I chose to fertilize the egg with my frozen man juice. And this should all be possible within like the next 10 to 20 years. So when I'm like 28 years old, I could get pregnant. I could be pregnant. Now
that's actually kind of fucking cool. Which also, like, keep in mind, like, they always say women, or like men can't give birth and shit, but like, or like, a trans woman, you can't give birth because you don't have uteruses. To which it's like, well, seems like that might change in the future now, won't it? Because at the end of the day, and again, I want to stress this, having a uterus is not what being a woman is. Ask any woman. It's not having a uterus. It's not having long hair. It's not their chromosomes. It's not, it's not their whatever. It's not any of these just random things. What being a woman is from a social aspect, on like a societal aspect, is a number of social characteristics, whether they be like how you present to also the role that you play in that society. Like that's, and for people personally, they obviously have their own list of things that makes them a woman. But like, none of it, nobody ever says. And even as we build our societies, we never made it about chromosomes. We never made it about fucking biological, any of this stuff. Mainly because, again, there's intersex people that, fall in the middle. But like at the end of the day, it's not worth, like, you can't biologically identify people in everyday life. You can only socially identify them based on, again, social characteristics.
Of course, it's never been done on a trans woman yet, but it just goes to show how crazy science is, and anything is possible.
It's crazy.
Do you genuinely believe that your plastic surgery vagina could birth a baby?
Wait, they just said that they can't because you would have to take it out to do the thing. Like they already said that part. You would get like they already said that part.
You realize that it's not just an empty pit in there. The women's bodies are specifically designed to hold a uterus. What are you going to do? Just move stuff around in there and drop the...
Well, that is kind of what happens, isn't it? Like when women get pregnant, the uterus ends up expanding and it moves everything around to accommodate it. And also the characteristics that she's talking about, the characteristics of how women's bodies are built are not like we're not talking about hard structures. We're talking about the way that they develop. Like you've ever heard childbearing hips, like that's an aspect to it. If you have wide hips for the accommodation of that mass in your uterus. So if you're taking those hormones, which will drive your body to create those childbearing hips, which by the way, there's also men who have childbearing hips, just because sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. But there's absolutely a way that a man's body could accommodate that sort of thing after enough hormone therapy, because it would change it from the inside. And then doctors, what they wouldn't be changing, with hormones, doctors can do the rest of that. At the end of the day, we can do so much with science. Like, obviously, the question obviously becomes like, well, you get into like the, what's the, I don't know if it's Ship of Theseus, but like the whole is that really you? And it's like, well, that's a different and more interesting conversation. But I think from a legal and societal standpoint, we can accommodate it. Science can accommodate it. Certainly we can.
And hope that it all works. Like, you are so desperate to play dress up as a woman that you want to do all of that. Like, just getting a uterus put in your body
they want
does
to
not mean
be a woman because
you
they
are a
feel
real
like
woman or that
a
you
woman.
are natural. I mean, like, you literally said it yourself. You have to get the uterus taken out because your body will reject it.
She does realize that this happens to normal women, right? Like this happens to normal women. They already did this for other normal cis women because some women can't get pregnant. It's just we already have the processes to accommodate women who can't get pregnant due to biological or medical issues. We already have all of that.
That is the farthest thing from natural that I can think of. Like, this is ludicrous. And you will
Wait, but
never
it's not
convince
natural.
me
Nobody said
that
it was
any
natural.
of this is healthy for these individuals or for society as a whole. Caring for people
Well,
and having empathy for
in that case, it sounds like you can't be swayed by data or facts, which means you're just an ideologue.
well-being, whether it's mentally or physically, often means that you have to tell people what they do not want to hear. This isn't right. This doesn't make sense. This is not science. This is not objective reality.
Well, wait,
that is not bigotry.
it is science,
That's
though.
not transphobia.
Objective reality
That's
is
just
what we can
fact.
do.
It's common sense. And Dylan?
Wait. You can't say facts and common sense. Common sense, by definition, aren't facts. They're common sense. They're like what you kind of say when you don't actually have any kind of facts backing up anything. Pretty funny how your dichotomy is trans woman. I'm not sure what you mean.
Happy 1 year of still being a man. Okay, that was fun. And
Also, like, go look at Dylan Mulvaney. Does Dylan Mulvaney look like, would you clock Dylan Mulvaney as like a man? What about Dylan Mulvaney is manly also? That's also like a big question that I always have to ask. You said, well, yeah, like cis women, like cis biologically, biological, biological females. Yeah, they, yeah. I mean, I'm sure, normal. Yeah. Sounds about right. I'm not perfect. What do you want from me? Nobody's perfect. Okay. Do we have time for the Last of Us one? I don't know if we do. Did I put it in the description? Real question. If I did, then we'll go over it. If I didn't, then I can't promise it. Did I? Oh, no, I did. Okay. We'll do it. Okay. All right. Let's get in the last. Oh, that's right. There's like a beginning thing. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. It's just like I just can't. Like, the thing with Brett Cooper that really bugs me is just how like unreasonably mean she has to be. It's just gratuitous in my opinion. But yeah. Anyway, okay. The Last of Us. It's a TV show. It was a video game. People were really mad about the second game, and kind of still are, from what I gather. My understanding is that everyone's still a bit. The crowd that's still pretty salty about the Last of Us Part 2 are still pretty salty about it, and it seems like they're gearing up. I have no doubt that they're gearing up to hate on the second season of the TV show. But point is, if you're aware of who the Quartering is, he's a anti-SJW cringe neckbeard, YouTube content creator, whatever the fuck. He complains about a lot of the encroaching SJW-ness of the world, which is to say he's complaining about comics with non-white people and complaining about nerd culture with girls in it or whatever. He's kind of that classic guy in general. But being that The Last of Us just wrapped up, I wanted to kind of see what some of the discourse that was surrounding, and luckily everyone was kind of complaining about the third episode because it was like the one-off that wasn't about the main characters as much, which happens in TV shows. It's kind of a normal thing. It's kind of a TV trope. But it also seems like people have been kind of worried about, I kind of figured in like episode 8, it kind of throws me out that I don't do 10 episodes, but in episode 8, one of the characters I think he reads from the Bible. I'm not 100% sure. But I had a feeling that one of the characters reading from the Bible would upset some people. And lo and behold, it kind of came along. So let's go take a look. I guess the Christians are oppressed now. Again, as a person who grew up Catholic, going to Catholic school and everything, I can safely say that we're not oppressed. It's not a thing that's happening. Social dominance has been rather ubiquitous in for the last 100+ years. So I think we'll be fine.
Interesting call out, Oscar Weekend, from the former star of The Office, the character that played Dwight, Rainn Wilson, calling out an obvious and, to all of us, the anti-Christian sentiment in Hollywood.
Yes.
In this episode of
okay, so let's talk about this really quickly. The anti-Christian sentiment in Hollywood. Would you like to know where that comes from, or why there is a feeling that there is an anti-Christian sentiment in Hollywood? I'll give you a second while I drink water. The reason for that is because we live in, at least socially, a rather Christian influence in terms of our media space. A lot of, I don't even know if we've ever, I'm pretty sure we haven't ever had a president that wasn't they themselves Christian or Catholic. We haven't, when we talk about like some of the first movies made, a lot of those were biblical tales, along with your mythological tales. So like a lot of what you see from Hollywood is coming from a Christian background. A lot of the people making films in the history of Hollywood, a lot of people just in general in the United States, right? So naturally, being that you have this prominence of Christianity in the country, when people go to make films, when they want to be controversial, when they want to be shocking, they come at it from a Christian perspective, which is to say they're going to lean on controversial imagery centered around like kind of Christian beliefs. Like it's kind of just like that's the culture you're kind of around. So naturally, when you want to shock people, that's how you're going to do it. Like generally, it's kind of like it's the closest thing you have that will shock people. If everyone wears crosses in your neighborhood, that you not wearing a cross will create controversy for yourself. And as filmmakers and as artists, as creatives, there is a certain aspect of challenging the society and the place that you live in, as a way of expressing creativity. I think this is kind of fundamental to artistry. Back in the day, people painted, if you've ever seen like old paintings, old artists would paint like biblical moments, would paint these mythological moments, but they would also paint these religious moments and like kind of depict these moments in different lights and stuff like that. It's just kind of part of the art making process. But anyway, let's continue.
Which
it's not really like a hatred of. It's just that's the closest culture. There's a reason why you don't see a lot of. There's a reason why it's always centered around that.
Of like woke decisions.
I
guess it's just kind of the lock, stock, standard. I think the show is fine. I think it's like above average.
Too bad you can't say Disney because it's made by Warner Brothers.
For me, but I'll probably watch it once through at some point. I watched the first couple episodes and just was not much was going on. And they wasted an entire episode on a man-on-man romance, but nonetheless, it's good to see someone from within Hollywood calling it out. And the bizarre part is Rainn Wilson is like as far left as it gets. So the Office actor Rainn Wilson declares that there is an anti-Christian bias in Hollywood. Well, certainly if you're watching, you know this. And in fact, it's not even necessarily anti-Christian, but it's like, I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but like there's this like weird satanic worship stuff. Now, I want to stay away.
Now, granted, this also, like, keep in mind the Sam Smith stuff has literally nothing to do with The Last of Us.
From like the satanic panic of what the 80s or whatever that is, but you have.
I mean, that's what this is. It is the continuing of the satanic panic
with his Unholy, Little Nas X with his shoes that have blood in them and a pentagram on them. I mean,
So understand, these people don't do this because like you have to understand, like, Lil Nas X and like any of this imagery isn't really there as a like endorsement of like satanic values. What it is a statement of opposition to the rather the heterodox thinking that dominates a lot of Western culture to a good degree, in terms of like Christianity's reach and pull. Again, like at the end of the day, like, it's a case where, like, first of all, it's a shoe. Who really cares? But if you want to get into like is this anti-Christian? By definition, it can't, because they're referring to imagery within the Christian doctrine anyway. So there's also that part.
Is not something that I'm unfamiliar with, especially with like metal bands in the 80s and the early 90s. You would see this kind of imagery and stuff of that nature. But let's get into Rain's take. By the way, I have a big.
I mean, some of it's just edgelord stuff, and like it's not creating harm, so it's like, who cares? Like, people have a right to be edgy.
On the front page of my YouTube channel, or it's under the live section.
You would have to demonstrate harm of like wearing horns or putting fake blood in a shoe, or like you would have to demonstrate harm pretty much for me to really care.
To celebrate, it was my biggest live stream ever. And
like, I understand people are like, oh, shocked, but that's kind of like the point. You want to get a response out of people. Holy shit, we're not doing a fucking ad right now. Whatever the fuck your name is, Quartering Man. Quarterman.
I do think there's an anti-Christian bias in Hollywood.
Cringe. Do you know how many people do things that are cringe? You know how many people do cringe things? Everyone does cringe things.
In The Last of Us started reading from the Bible, I knew that he was going to be a horrific villain. Could there be a Bible reading preacher on a show who is actually loving and kind? 50,000 tweets.
So the idea that there are no good preachers in media, I don't think that that's really that salient of an argument, because if I go to look up right now, show me a, like, besides the fact that like PureFlix exists, which by the way I think is like cringe, but like I think they have a right to make their pro-Christian films. I got no problem with that. Let them do it. But like, you have an entire like Netflix for like good preacher characters. Isn't like Preacher like a good guy in that show? I know that show's also very edgy with its like use of Christian imagery, but like still, like, that guy's a good guy. Like, if you've ever seen what's the fucking movie, Exorcist, like the heroes of that movie are preachers, like are men of the cloth. Like, almost every like horror movie around exorcism is usually frames the the guy, the men of the cloth as the heroes, and as the the what, like preachers are not like what's it called? I don't think it's fair to say like, oh, like there's never preachers who are the good guys in media. That's not true at all.
No, this sure is a way to get unpersoned probably in Hollywood.
Jeremy, thank you. We'll go with Jeremy. I don't actually know, but that sounds right to me.
Rocker. I'm not saying it was like the best movie ever, but it's just a good, harmless fun. I think Teddy Geiger is the main character in that movie. Anyway, it's funny and it's wholesome.
Okay.
You see, Kurt saying the best picture of a Christian I've seen in the media is Mr. Rogers. Yes, he was, but I don't know if he was like openly Christian on the show. And there's just lots of people. Firefly, The Expanse, Babylon 5, The Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Some examples of shows with characters who are religious and sincere.
Wait. Give me that list again. Hold on one goddamn minute.
Of shows with characters who...
Firefly, The Expanse, Babylon 5, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Yeah, like, these are, like, fucking Firefly. People fucking love Firefly.
Or religious and sincere. But I don't think that's really what he's saying. Yeah, the Book of Eli, I think also.
Yeah, what the? Yeah,
good, but again, not a preacher.
This just falls. This just falls apart.
And yeah, there are crappy ones. You hear Shaw and Kent say, "Hey, maybe they could do a show about Catholic priests and all their fine work with children." Like, I get it. but like you read anti-Christian bias and thought he was asking for demonstration. Yeah, there are, those
First of all,
priests
that's
need to be
Catholic.
out. They can't just keep shuffling them around like they used to. Obviously, I've known a lot of pastors in my life, and all of them were very kind people. And
yeah, like most like religious people are like preachers, like all those people. I've never met one that was sussy. They've all been really cool. I mean, like some of them more cool than others. And the nuns in Catholic school were a mixed bag, but what can you do? People are a mixed bag.
Well, maybe I just wasn't attractive enough for them. I don't know, but it was never an issue.
There's like a whole.
This is coming from.
There's a whole thing with Catholics and Christians.
The opposite broke his mind, so people are just seething.
As far as I'm concerned, they're the same thing,
Maybe
but there is a delineation of there are differences that are
the Conjuring universe.
Rather, the Conjuring universe. What the fuck? Yeah, those movies do incredibly well.
Like I just everybody in his quote tweets getting.
I love how Twitter's like
complete meltdown.
A complete meltdown, yes.
Father Lantom from Daredevil. Sure, they exist.
They exist. Dude, come on.
But I do think it's funny how just there's so much seething in these comments. But you see, I'm glad that Rainn Wilson is publicly acknowledging this.
Yes. Scroll far enough and you'll see somebody who makes absolutely no, no actual counter argument. It just agrees. Like, yeah, if you go far enough, you're going to find somebody that like agrees with the original tweet. But like all of like he's just disregarding all of the people giving examples. Like, what are you talking about? Like, watch other things. Like you're fixating on like either this one genre or this one like incident, and you're actively pretending like all the rest of media doesn't exist.
Entertainment impacts our culture, and there's tons of good pastors and faith leaders that would be inspirational and moving on the big screen. Well,
isn't John Constantine like I guess no, he's like a
Christianity
demon
and
hunter.
Religious films and stuff like that.
Because I know they're making another John Constantine movie.
Well, you have a guy like Kevin Sorbo has his stuff.
Yeah, there's like all of Pure
Kirk
Flicks.
Cameron has his stuff.
Yeah, you have the entire God's Not Dead series, like
messaging and
like you can say like, oh, that doesn't count, but it
not
absolutely counts.
A part of
like,
Hollywood.
It's
still
separate
media from Hollywood and like self-funded, by the way.
Yeah,
look, there
that's
are bad
fine.
people of all religions, but like, look at Hollywood and ask yourself, which side they're going.
Yeah,
to
yeah. I mean, a lot of Pure Flicks is rather
Rainn Wilson calls out
evangelical.
bias in Hollywood after the Last of Us episode. I knew he was a villain.
Well, he's also so if you knew he was a villain, like, isn't it like if you've watched the show, it's kind of obvious he's a villain because he's framed to be the villain. Like the way that they frame him in relation to everybody else in the scenes kind of communicates to you that this dude can't be trusted, and he just kind of gives off like a bit of a creepy vibe like throughout the entire show. Let alone if you played the game, then you knew immediately that, oh, this character is like what they are. But like, yeah, like the framing and the way he's written and the way characters react to him also deeply inform like the sense of dread you have around him as a character.
Others agreed with Wilson's criticism and pointed out how The Last of Us was hardly the first example of Hollywood's anti-Christian bias. Defamation of Christians has become the most unoriginal and tired cliches in movies and TV series. Its prevalence is much more than bias against an entire people.
Or I guess
it's meant to undermine
Kirk
faith
now.
And position the secular-minded as only ones with the altruistic intentions. Libre Initiative President Daniel Garza remarked. New Christendom Press CEO wrote, "Go back to Mr. Collins and Austin's Pride and Prejudice. The preacher man has always been portrayed in a negative light. Also true of Hollywood today." Here's another quote. "I lean left, but The Last of Us still made me roll my eyes quite a few times with this Hollywood nonsense.
Bet they
I had
don't.
to stop watching.
Probably not
writer,
a left. Probably not a.
Sean
they probably
Penman,
don't
an
actually
actual critic.
lean left.
EV Magazine founder Brittany Martinez wrote, "As soon as the pastor started reading the Bible, I knew he was going to be awful. I was like, watch this guy be David the creepy cannibal from the video game, and then it was. Shocked, surprised, never seen it before. He wasn't a pastor in the video game. So that's kind of part of what you're talking about, the biases here, right? Like, it isn't necessarily that he was a bad guy.
I love how this person, like, this random person is like describing exactly what they were, and I'm like, yeah, like, what did they say? As soon as the pastor started reading from the Bible, I knew he was going to be awful. I was like, watch that guy be David the creepy kid. Yeah, like, you didn't think that was David immediately? They obviously played the game, which means they obviously knew that, like, just the way that they were introduced, they're like, oh, that's like obviously David. Like, there's like no ambiguity about that. He was the leader of the group. He was the leader of the group in the fucking game. Like, no shit.
Out of their way to make him a Christian and a pastor.
Also, isn't he not a pastor?
Have to do that.
He's not a pastor. He just reads from the Bible.
Again?
Like, he's not a pastor. He's not even a preacher.
Wouldn't that be more interesting?
He just uses the book to control
that's an
people.
Extraordinarily valid point to point out that they went out of their way.
Because because they established in the show that before the apocalypse happens, he was a teacher. He was like a grade school teacher, I think. I don't know if they said what grade or whatever, but he mentions that he's like a teacher. No, he does like kind of mention that he was like around kids Ellie's age, and she's like 14. So he was like a middle school teacher. And then the apocalypse happened, and then he found out that he could use the Bible and like religious texts to control people. Like, yeah, it's a thing that's been known to happen. People use religious texts to control people. That's not really an indictment. It's not even really an indictment on religion. It's an indictment on people seizing on religion, actually.
Show is a norm nowadays. Christian writer Eric Stetzer tweeted, "We've known this for a long time, Rain." Recording artist Sean Fuchs wrote. Wilson has previously promoted left-wing issues on his Twitter account. In November, he announced efforts to change the name on social media platforms to Rainfall, Heat Wave, Extreme Winter Wilson, as he tried to promote climate activism. Yeah, I mean, I think he is a lefty, but like, I think you can still look at things from an unbiased perspective, especially when we have things like
Keep in mind, there is no So this is also what I really dislike, and it's something that's just fundamentally dishonest. Is there is no such thing as like looking at something from like an unbiased perspective. It's just not really a thing when you're advocating for one side or the other. Like, at the end of the day, I am biased towards left wing, like in the sense of like I am biased on a left wing bent. Like, the way I conceptualize the world and conceptualize better outcomes is through a left-wing understanding of the world and a left-wing conception on what is better for the world. The same way this dude does the same thing, but for right-wing politics. And the thing that really irritates me about right-wing content creators, and especially those like Jeremy here, and like we've looked at Geeks and Gamers, is they pretend to be apolitical. They pretend to be not to be centrist, kind of like Tim Pool. They pretend to not really have strong ideological bends, but it's rather obvious through the media that they critique, the way they critique, and the specific critiques that they actually make, that they're not unbiased. They hold right-wing views and right-wing policy prescriptions. So like, it's always like, yeah, like, you're not unbiased. Stop lying to people, pretending that you're unbiased. Just come out and say, look, I'm right-wing. I have a right-wing bias. That's totally fine. I got no problem with you. You got a right-wing bias. I just need people to be more honest about it, because it's really fucking annoying to engage with like dishonest actors. It's probably the most annoying thing ever. It's why, again, I've said it before, I at least appreciate Matt Walsh, who doesn't like play around with his positions. He is an open fascist. He knows he's an open fascist, and he accepts that. He's like, all right, look, I'm an open fascist. We all understand this. I'm a fascist theocrat. I think he has in like his Twitter bio as a joke, which is kind of one of those like, is he joking? Probably not. He probably thought, well, they correctly identified me. I'll, accept it I'll like wear it as a badge of honor, as a joke. But in reality, I think he pretty much identifies as a fascist theocrat. But like, again, like, at least be honest about your positions. That's all I ask.
Official Satan Nikes containing human blood sell out in under a minute. I mean, I just don't even understand. This is what you get from Hollywood, right? Now,
This
I am
isn't
not
Hollywood.
offended by this.
This is the music industry. It's not Hollywood.
Don't care. They were priced $1,000 a pair.
Yeah, the whole, like,
I mean, truly
yeah.
satanic, I suppose. And it was
a marketing
$1,018 a pair, a reference to the biblical passage Luke 10:18 that reads, "I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven."
That's a good one.
Each shoe's air bubble sole contains.
What's funny too is, like, the quartering and people like him are probably people who like Metallica, who like metal music, who like all of that stuff is playing on the same qualities. Like, it's all playing on the same controversy. It's just, this is the new version of it. Like, it's not that much different. It's not any more controversial or any more damaging. The same way listening to metal is not bad for you, but, like, you know, making some gimmicky shoe isn't gonna end the world. It's not harmful.
Centimeters, 2 full ounces of red ink, and a single drop of human blood.
Whoa!
I mean,
crazy.
This is what people are paying for. This is what people get. You know, articles.
People. There's only
Sam
600
Smith
copies
with his, like,
of
all of
those.
his imagery and all this kind of stuff.
Oh my God, it's red.
All the things we hear about, you know, what Hollywood people do behind the scenes.
Such as,
you know, I think that,
like, people say that where they're like, oh, what do people in Hollywood get up to? All the weird stuff. But if you actually paid attention to the news, do you know who also engages in a lot of the weird sexual and, like, kind of out there, you know, like, have those kind of, like, weird sexual out there episodes? Do you know what the other group is? Rich people and politicians. And the reason for that is because having money insulates you from a lot of consequences, and it also gives you access to things that you wouldn't normally have access to. Why do you think, like, celebrities or the incredibly rich have pets that they wouldn't otherwise be allowed to have? Like we've all heard of, like, people who owned, like, tigers as, like, pets, right? Who were those people? Not normal people. The people who own, like, tigers are, like, rich people, politicians, drug dealers, because at the end of the day, money insulates you from consequences, which means you can do whatever the fuck it is that you want. It's why you end up seeing politicians who show up at, like, brothels, shit like that. It's why that's kind of the common, what's the word? Like, trope, isn't it? Like, here in Denver, we have a good example of this. Our state house, where senators and all those people all go to meet. Do you want to know what's right across the street? A gentleman's club. Why do you think a gentleman's club is across the street from the state house? Because that's the place that they can spend their money. At the end of the day, if you have all of this wealth, all of this power, all of this ability to shirk consequences, you're going to engage in pretty sussy behavior. It's not just a Hollywood thing.
Really that surprising that they don't care for Jesus. There's a lot of people, you know, there are atheists out there. There are agnostic people out there, but then there's the atheist people who think they're super smug. Like, I don't know how many of you people were around.
There's a lot of very smug
there was
atheists.
a thing in 2015, 2016 in the atheism
Very
community
much.
where, like, suddenly atheism became a new religion, and it attracted leftism and leftists, and they came into that movement and completely destroyed it.
Yeah, because atheists originally, what's the word? Marketed themselves as people who were like, I don't know about left leaning, but, like, I got the sense that, like, the thing is that the left has always been kind of opposed to the hegemon of, Christian heterodox. And because they found an ally in the atheist community, there was some shared interest there. But unfortunately, the atheist community ended up turning into the skeptic community, which then kind of morphed into like more of a skepticism around, like, you know, instead of it being like their bugbears being like centered around Christianity and that hegemon, it ended up becoming kind of more, you know, I think on the right wing level of like anti-government and like kind of anti-institutionalism, which in and of itself isn't bad, but it just kind of depends on how that manifests.
This in Hollywood, you know, promoting, you know, mocking being religious, calling people who are religious like simple and thinking they're unenlightened is ridiculous. Well, but this is the norm in Hollywood.
We did have the Enlightenment,
Rainn Wilson.
And there was a time of
rest in pepperonis your career. But I'm happy he said it. So,
Rainn Wilson will be fine. I want to also take a look because Rainn Wilson actually kind of replied to some of these. Here's a couple funny things about the anti-Christian bias in Hollywood. My opinion tweet was picked up as front page news by Fox News. Talk about bias. An organization created as a corporate shield to create division solely for profit based on culture war outrage. Print that. Also, I'm not even Christian. Of course, it's true that the evangelical and political coalition is doing a great deal of damage to our country, banning books, banning freedoms, denying inconvenient science, taking a grotesque anti-LGBTQ plus platform. But most Christians that I know are kind, acceptable, and loving, and seeking to make the world a better place. They should also be honored in the media, which actually I think this is a pretty reasonable take. This is like rather reasonable if you're like, hey, Christian people are cool, to which the case is like, yeah, in terms of our media, there are any number of Christian characters that are portrayed in a perfectly fine light. I get that, like, there is the trope of like the devious or dangerous preacher character, but like as much as that's a trope is as much as almost everything else is a trope. Like it's not, I don't think it's damaging, and certainly I don't think we're at the point where it's like, oh man, like we have a real problem on our hands. And even Rainn Wilson doesn't think that this is as big of an issue, and obviously people on the right wing seized upon this to be like, even Rainn Wilson thinks that, even Dwight thinks that we're being too anti-Christian, to which it's like, yeah, but like you guys are blowing it up to be an issue much larger than what it actually is. At the end of the day, like being able to identify what are big issues, the actual size and like impact of an issue is just as important as identifying that issue in and of itself. But anyway, anyway, okay, before I get into another topic, anyway, that's going to be it for tonight. Let me do the usual thing that everyone says you're supposed to do. If you enjoyed any of what you've watched, if you learned anything, even if you just got some catharsis, or you like hanging out, lurking in chat, I would be honored if you would do me the favor of hitting that follow button on Twitch, and if you're on YouTube, hitting that subscribe button. It really helps out. I do this every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. You can always reach out with the email above my head if you have a topic that you'd like to suggest, or a video that you'd like to see, or if you'd ever like to appear on this show. By all means, just reach out with whatever topic you want to discuss. You know, if you want it to be a debate, we can debate. If you'd like to just have a conversation, a discussion, something a little bit less... what's the word I'm looking for? Less, competitive, less, with a little bit less, what's the word I'm looking for? Aggression, I guess one might say. I don't know. By all means, you can always do that. But either way, that's going to be it for the show. You all have a lovely night, and I'll see you all Thursday. We'll see what goes on. But yeah, bye-bye for now.